Despite meetings with the US President this week, time and space are important. He says the programme of events in Washington isn't just about giving the DUP a push to agree the deal.
The whole point of having this period of time after publishing everything is to give people the time and space to look at it all, because we don't want it. The unionist community, I know, has felt bounced into things in the past, and we absolutely do not want to do that this time. We want people to come to a considered view. My personal opinion is that that considered view will be a positive outlook on the Windsor framework.
It's hoped that substantial works will take place shortly in Buncrana on the shore walk to Father Hegarty's grave. Donegal County Council is seeking €80,000 from the Community Recognition Fund to be spent on resurfacing and drainage works, as well as the provision of accessible toilets. The money was sought by the Buncrana Tidy Towns. Councillor Donna says it'll augment existing facilities, and she's confident the application will be accepted.
We as local councillors, we have been asking for toilets to be put in place at Ned's Point in Buncrana for a long time now. And this is great news altogether, and to think that the path has a good chance of being upgraded as well. It's great news because the very famous and widely used scenic walk, particularly St Swan Park, has been refurbished. The numbers have greatly, greatly increased, and this is a beautiful, beautiful area of Inishowen.
Weather forecast, Almet here and tell us it'll be wet and cloudy to start, but with outbreaks of rain. They'll clear northeastwards though through the morning. Sunny spells to follow with some scattered showers. Some of those showers heavy. Possibility of some thunderstorms in the afternoon. A possibility of some hail as well. Mild with highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees Celsius. Moderate to fresh south to southwest winds. They'll ease as the day goes on. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
There's a grand stretch in the evening, Tom says to everyone he meets this time of year, including the fire service, who this evening responded to an electrical fire at Tom's house, caused by the charger he forgot to unplug after having a grand stretch in his online yoga class this afternoon. Not so grand. Thankfully, Tom has a phone watch alarm, which responds to break-ins and smoke in just 15 seconds for only €49. Life is unpredictable. Don't be alarmed, be phone watched. Offer ends March 19th. Visit phonewatch.ie. Monitoring fees apply.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9 this Thursday, the 16th of March 2023. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show, the last one of the week, because of course tomorrow is public holiday on National Day, St Patrick's Day. So we have moved our Friday panel forward to a Thursday panel. They'll be joining us shortly. We want you involved in the conversation, of course. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApps and text number. Give us a call alternatively on 07491 25,000. Email us your comments at highlandradio.com. And if you choose to watch, don't forget to comment there. You can watch on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, on your TV, Fire Stick, or your tablet, laptop, whatever you choose. And you can also watch directly on our website, highlandradio.com. All right, without further ado, let's say good morning to Breed Curran, solicitor. Welcome back to the show, Breed. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks so much for joining us. We are also joined by Deputy Joe McHugh. Good morning, Joe. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Greg.
Great to have you with us. And last but not least, Michael Margay, Head of Business Faculty at ATU. A very good morning to you, Michael. Long time no see, it seems, as well. Good to have you with us. All right. Okay, I mean, let's start with a topical one. It's kind of obvious. I don't like doing obvious stuff, but sure, here we are. St. Patrick's Day is our emissions nightmare. Some have described it. Do you know why? Because of the impact of Ireland's jet-setting TDs. 35 of them, I think, are scattered around the world. Our own Charlie McConalogue's business class trip will do as much damage as a family home and a car combined in terms of their impact on the environment. The government leaders, they're going to produce 17 tonnes of CO2e with, believe it or not, the Green Party leader, Eamon Ryan, our biggest polluter. So how, with a straight face, can these people impose bans and taxes that they do and cry about too many cars on the road? It's practice what you preach, Breed. What's going on here?
I loved this story in the Examiner this morning about Eamon Ryan's emissions. Apparently he has to go vegan for 7 years to counteract the carbon footprint. Look, I don't know any other nation, maybe my other contributors here today might know of another nation, but I certainly don't know of any other nation that has the global reach that this country, this small little country on the edge of Europe, has for one day on the 17th of March. We're literally in the global spotlight for 24 hours. And it's such a huge opportunity for the likes of the IDA and Enterprise Ireland to showcase what we do here in Ireland. And particularly coming on the back of our success, or rather lack of success, but 14 shows in the Oscars. It's such a great little country. We're punching way above our weight with regards to business and the arts and culture. And if we look at Ireland as a business, if we were looking at it in that point of view, of course, a company would send out its CEO and executives to showcase what it is we do on a global basis. We would be extremely foolish not to send our TDs and our ministers around the world to showcase what it is we do, because it's good from a business point of view. Might not be so good from obviously the ecological point of view.
But Breed, can we, and I get that, and the business argument is a strong one, and I've spoken to people who went on a trip to China, 2 decades ago, and on the face of it, they came back empty-handed, you could argue, and then business deals were forged and markets were opened, and the two are never connected. But we can't take that in isolation, sort of go, yeah, but it's great for the country, it's great for getting us out there, because our day-to-day life here, right, is being told that you can't, don't burn turf. We have to use coal, which is not very effective. I'm not going to lie to you. We're having the conversations about, taxes on our fuels and zero emission houses by 2028. We can't just separate that and say, yeah, but see, for this one day, it's good because we need to get our message out there, because it's not the lived reality for most people, and it just doesn't make sense.
It's all about balancing it, Greg, and we have to get it right. But I mean, if we look at it from a practical point of view, if all our ministers fly economy rather than first class, I understand Minister McCanalogue is flying first class to New Zealand.
Business class, I think that might just be 2 rows back. I'm not quite sure.
I don't know. I've never flown first class. I wouldn't know. But the point is, there are economies that can be made, and maybe Eamon Ryan should go vegan for 7 years to make up for the fact that he's flown across the world.
It might be a different type of emissions he'd be worried about if he did that. But anyway, we'll come back to you, Michael Margie. Yes, I know, and I think you're very well placed to make the argument about business, the connections, the worth to our economy. I get that, right? But again, I'll put it to you, it can't be taken in isolation, because a lot of the conversation is about what we need to be doing to reduce our carbon footprints, and we watch then whilst those that are telling us to do just that, are flying all over the world and causing great damage themselves.
Yeah, look, I think Breed's point was really well made there. About, for a small nation or country and the global reach and impact that we have, particularly on St. Patrick's Day. And we have a huge diaspora. And for all those people who are abroad, it's really great to see the St. Patrick's Days happening abroad. I think the other aspect then is really about having the balance, which Breed mentioned as well. And the word I would bring into it is, at every point now, we have to look at how we're being responsible, in the world we live in today, for our environment and everything else. And I think that on the one hand, it's hard to see how you can get around the world without using a plane. And that really does have huge impacts in terms of the amount of tons of carbon it's going to create, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to look then, and probably for the organization or department that you have responsibility for, to say, right, what's our total carbon footprint? We're going to have to travel. And what are the other things that we can do to mitigate that or to reduce that in other activities that we can do? Because there's certain activities we can't get away from, like, how are we going to get to New Zealand? We're going to have to fly. We can't take the slow boat. But what we have to be responsible. And overall, now it's incumbent on all of us for the world we live in today. How are we going to be socially responsible? How are we going to be environmentally responsible? And when you just touched on that point about business, there's been huge changes and trends coming into business now, where business has to be fair, decent, socially responsible, environmentally responsible. That's a different language or vernacular that we would have been talking 10 years ago for sure. And I think that's a good step forward for business. But we got to make sure that that's not just a veneer, we're actually really meaning what we're doing, what we're saying. It's not just
so what are you, like what you're articulating is not what I've been hearing. I've not heard from anyone about offsetting any of this. No suggestions of maybe do we have to do it every single year? Could we not show leadership? What kind of traction might you get from leadership by having an online summit with our colleagues in New Zealand, for example? Line up a few deals in advance. I hear what you're saying. I hear what Breed is saying, but I'm also living in the reality where none of what you are saying actually exists. Perhaps it should.
Yeah, I mean, you come back to the pandemic and where we had to move so much online, we learned a lot from that. There's some benefits from that as well. But for me, I really feel, turning up in person is really, really important. We're social beings at the end of the day. It's about making that connection, et cetera, et cetera. And, for our own diaspora, I have 3 brothers all abroad. It's great to see St. Patrick's Day. It's great to see, our own representatives over there on that day. There's that whole other side of it as well, which is outside of Ireland, across the world. And it's a day, huge celebration. But in terms of environment and climate, and being socially responsible, that's where, the organizations, the business organizations, the public organizations, increasingly now we have to look about how we message that to our publics and our peoples, and how we get that across to say, yeah, there's areas here we find it hard to make changes on, but we're doing all this other stuff here as well.
All right, let me break it down then, even in more simple terms for me, not for you, because you get it and Bree get it and Joe get it, and we'll bring Joe in a second. But right, we have major conferences that take place in certain parts of the world. Then we have our TDs, our ministers stand up and tell us this is the climate is the most critical thing at the moment, arguing so strenuously that we have to stop the burning of turf, smoky coal, that we have to move to green energy, that our fishermen will have to make sacrifices maybe in terms of their fishing waters, that people might have to endure living beside a wind turbine if they don't. And that's enforced to us all the while. And then we get to but there's one day a year, and it's not one day a year, of course, where that doesn't matter because we're all going to fly around the world. I'll put that to you, Joe. It's a hard pill for the public to swallow, that.
Yeah, look, it absolutely is, because there's people listening to this show this morning and they're trying to figure out where they're going to get the money to buy a bag of coal. I mean, that's why this argument is a difficult argument to sell. But you probably know what I'm going to say in terms of St. Patrick's. It's not even St. Patrick's Day, it's St. Patrick's Week. And there's 2 things I would like to say in relation to it. I think it's really, really important because 1% of the global population now claim to be Irish. That's a big, big percentage of a population of well over 7 billion. And if you're looking at a case of 1 week where there is an all-out effort, and it's not just the ministers, it's Enterprise Ireland, it's IDA, it's all the different embassies around the world, and they've been building towards this. But the question I would say would be this, in order to try to get the balance that Breach and Michael talked about. There's a lot of ministerial travel throughout the year other than this week, and I think that's where we can focus now and do justice to this argument. I think there's 3 areas I think where you have essential travel as politicians. Number 1 is St. Patrick's Week, also Brussels and Strasbourg for the really important stuff of being part of the European Union, and trade missions. But if you were to take the other travel and start examining how much travel actually is needed, and I think hopefully this debate might stem that, lead to that conversation.
But can I put something to you, Joe, just in relation to all this? I mean, what you're saying, resonate with an awful lot of people, and what Breed has said and what Michael is saying, right? But I don't want to have a conversation in a vacuum. So we are talking about how the country's doing very well. 1% of the world identifies as Irish. We're going to go out, maybe forge new deals. It'll bring more money into the country. It's fantastic, right? But at the same time, we've been doing this for many, 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 many years, and we're post the last recession, and God forbid if we're heading into the next one. We are living in a country with an absolute housing disaster of a crisis, a health service that's completely on its knees, GPs services that are not available. We've more people living in poverty in this county alone. You know yourself, the lowest disposal. So all of these promises of what these trips might deliver, it feels like I'm having a conversation in an alternative reality. Because where's the dividend now? Where's the dividend for the majority of us? All right, I think really it all sounds great, maybe for the top 5%. Maybe they'll get more money, maybe they'll line the pockets, but it's us mugs, right, who can't afford to get on a plane or go to New Zealand or America that don't see any hope of these trips delivering anything of a better life for us into the future. And that, for me, is the detachment, right, from big business, politics, and us real people that have to live our lives, Joe.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think it's correct to separate and doing the we and the us, because at the end of the day, if you look at our global footprint in terms of international presence in this country, headquarters of major international companies, but even in Donegal alone, like we're the fintech capital of Ireland. Outside of Dublin, and that means that there's going to be a lot of these companies around the world and attracting other companies as well. But to back up one element of your point, and you do make a good point there, Greg, that where there is a weakness, and I found where there was a weakness, you could have a full week of very good work, ministers making good contacts and networking and doing a good work on behalf of Ireland, and they'll come home and they'll say, yes, we collaborated, we did this, there is a potential here. I think where the weakness is the follow-up. And the ministers are not in the position to do that because they're back to the day-to-day stuff, the bread and butter stuff. And I think there is an onus on all of our agencies, all of our officials within departments to have a better system in place on the follow-up. And I will call it here now, and I've been to different countries as well. I think the follow-up is poor. I've spoken to people who have lived abroad from as far away as Singapore. When there's a minister arriving, they get the call up and they say, right, let's bring businesses together. And there is a weakness in the follow-up. And I think that's something that, maybe for the likes of Michael and the business he's in and, the students and the curriculum, is there a piece of work there to do in terms of the follow-up in relation to initial context and all that? And I believe there's a weakness.
Yeah, and Breed, it's quite possible, not in business class, but a lot of these flights that these ministers and TDs are on might have young Irish people on them as well, not on holidays.
Absolutely,
but going
in the
one
opposite
way.
direction.
So we need to see a connection and a benefit from this.
Yeah, we need to see it trickle down. That's the issue. Look, at corporation tax is the second highest tax take in a country other than VAT. And foreign direct investment and foreign companies who employ young people here in Ireland, I'm quite sure that an awful lot of those contacts are made on the back of the work being done by Enterprise Ireland and IDA and other state agencies. So we can't just sit at home and say, well, we're not coming out to play because we can't because of our carbon footprint. We have to go out there and sell the country and hope that it trickles down. So I am in favour of sending our TDs abroad, I'm afraid, and I think we just need to get that balance right.
What about spinning it then and saying, the Emerald Isle, let's go green. Say we want your business.
Leprechaun.
I'm on about the green, environmental green. Say, look, we are not going to travel. We want you to come here, but we are really taking the environment, the climate separate, spin it a different way, work it to our advantage.
Can we not have a balance? Can we not say to these companies, we are coming to see you to press the flesh so that you can see what we do and what we bring to the table. And when we go back, we're going to offset that by reducing our carbon footprint in other areas, or as Deputy McHugh has suggested, that we balance it out in other ways. But it's the power of personality. Yeah. Ireland has a personality, and we need to get that personality showing to the world.
Okay.
So that we can bring back, and it will trickle down.
Yeah, and finally on this, Michael, I'm not having to go with Eamon Ryan, okay, but he is the man that, will cycle to work, and on many occasions his Garda escort will be driving behind him in a car. That's the world that we live in. And he's also producing the most toxicity into the environment on his travels. it feels like, I don't know what the word is, kite fly gaslighting, what do they call it? Virtue signaling? I don't know what the word is. I never can follow them. But it does feel like someone's taking the P out of us. Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to say a few things. I think that I'll come back to the previous point about the economy and that there. But sometimes it's difficult, you know, like to cut your emissions, as you say. I'm going around the bicycle and the Garda escort is following me in the car, you know, and there is going to be situations where you get snookered in a way. Of course, you could turn around and say, I don't need the Garda escort. That reduces that. Or you could turn around and say, well, maybe the Garda escort needs to get on bicycle.
Well, he does, or she does, in fairness. But I mean, at times.
Okay. Yeah, so there you go. I think that what you have to be seen to be doing at every stage is that you moved and made an action to try and mitigate whatever it was. So if it is a climate issue, if it is carbon, that you just didn't sit in your hands, that you said, okay, look, how can we try and improve this? What are the things we can do? Because you're never going to get it to the point that you completely nullify it or bring it to zero emissions. But where did you move to try and make a difference? Go back to the issue then about the economy and, you know, the impact of that there and all the challenges we have in housing and health and everything else. I do think that that's a challenge for governments and that. For Ireland and outside of Ireland as well. I think it's hugely challenged at the moment. I think that at one level, when we say economies are doing well, they're doing well at a macro level, okay? But when you come down then to people or to regions, and you know, we had this slogan in the UK, you know, levelling up, and I was just looking there in the last week or so, there was a report for the border in GDP per capita was 52% of the EU 27. So, you know, if we look at the region that we're in, and if you know, people saying the housing problem is about creating supply, but for the region we're in, it's about making investment. You have to put the spend in. There's no other way around it, right? And it needs to happen. So, I think in terms of nations and economies and stuff like that, there, you know, if you look back over the last 30 years or so, there has been huge increases in corporate productivity, corporate profitability. And at some point in the last 10 years ago, you could see that curve nearly going vertical. However, the increase in wages and income, if we looked at it globally in terms of the Western developed nations, has stayed pretty horizontal. So there has been a decoupling that has been happening there between corporate productivity and profits and wages more generally. But if you look at it here locally, here in Donegal, we have huge imbalances as well between our more local indigenous jobs. But the benefit of the FDI companies and the larger tech companies that Joe's alluded to is they're bringing in really well-paid jobs for loads of our young people who are coming out of college, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a hugely positive thing because that didn't exist many, many years ago. And, you know, Joe and I and others were ones that thinking, you know, well, you know, where are you going to go? Some people were going to London, some people were going to the States, et cetera, et cetera. And now more and more of those kids who are going to college can think they can get a job here and get a good income out of it too.
Okay, that was the voice there of Michael Margay, who's head of business faculty at the ATU. We were also hearing from Solicitor Breed Curran and Deputy Joe McHugh. Back with more from them and your comments after we take this break.
Show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagori Strabane, 2-course express menu, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Only $18.95. 7-day weekly a la carte menu, €1 for pound. Now taking bookings for Mother's Day and Sunday Carvery, 2 courses only $15.95. Check out our party packages and great deals at Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagori Strabane.
Quality ingredients make quality paint colour. That's why to us at Colour Trend, green is never just green. It's sweet caper, made to withstand everyday scuffs and spills, or standing tall, which reflects the sun but never fades. It's the perfect green that stays perfect. Colour Trend, a world of quality in every colour.
Donegal farmland in very short supply. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Donegal land jumps in price, but it's hard to come by, with supply down by half. In this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, we publish a 72-page guide to agricultural land prices across Ireland. We reveal why the average price of farmland is up nationwide and who's buying the land.
Don't miss your free land price report worth €15 inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Join the celebration this St. Patrick's Day in Letterkenny. Live music with the Hillbillies on stage at the Market Square from 1:30 with MC Keith Fletcher, Callum Keaveney and a celebration photo frame at the Courthouse. A special photo booth and music by Folk and About on the main street. And the parade gets underway at 3. Come early to get your spot along the route for this year's St. Patrick's Day parade in Letterkenny.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's 27 minutes past 9. Now, I understand this information is kind of very recent and it's going to take a time for everyone to digest, but a major research paper published yesterday claimed mica is not the primary cause of the failure of defective concrete blocks in Donegal. It's off the back of the analysis of 4 properties built between 2001 and 2004. Microstructural and chemical analysis combined with thermodynamic modelling was carried out on 4 homes affected by defective blocks in Donegal. It kind of has put to bed, I think, this peer-reviewed report that mica was the cause of our problems. It also suggests that we really need to be looking at internal leaves, foundations, and also kind of puts to bed the impact of freeze-thaw in terms of... the destruction of these properties. As I say, we're all digesting this, so we'll not stay on this too long. We are going to be speaking to Professor Dunlop a little later on in the morning, I hope. Now, that is not to limit the conversation, of course, but I'll go to you first, Deputy Joe McHugh. I mean, this is a significant, very well-researched document. It's peer-reviewed, and it kind of really needs to be taken on board by government. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely would agree. And I would just like to congratulate Paul Dunlop and the entire team. And I know that the recent conference was probably the trigger to get this research going. And look, while you need the scientific research, the word on the street have been really bamboozled by the fact that foundations have never been brought into the equation in terms of mica. And hopefully this puts that to bed. And my I suppose... My concern in relation to the foundations, my concern is this. I believe the foundations have been used by officials to create a system that does not require the definition of rebuild. And I think that's why we're getting caught on the regulation and go back to 1997 regulation, go back to 2007 regulation. And I think the foundations have been used as a stick to beat this scheme with.
By who, Joe? Because that's that's a strong statement coming from someone who, is, I mean, obviously you don't have the whip at the moment, but has been around the cabinet table, has been instrumental in trying to push from your perspective this. I mean, who are you talking of there? You're talking about the who?
Well, I'm talking about the new regulations that I've read, and there's a very, very specific regulation which is saying that the houses have to be built on the exact same.
So, are you saying this is civil servants? Are you saying, do you believe that Darragh O'Brien's complicit in this?
No, what I'm saying is this. I'm saying that the issue that I've been pushing for a long time, and the issue why I voted against my own party, why I voted against the government, was on the issue of downsizing. And I know I got a bit of criticism recently for raising the issue again on the basis that people were feeling that I was telling them to downsize. I'm telling nobody to downsize, but there are a lot of people who are coming to me that wish to downsize on a voluntary basis, but they're being penalised. And I believe there has to be a reason why we're not making progress, because on the one hand, I've sat down with the Taoiseach, I've also sat down with the Attorney General. There's no legal impediment to downsizing, but I, for the life of me, cannot get to the bottom of the fact that there's a strong resistance Now, on a positive front, I know the County Council officials have made a submission to the Department with the new regulations, looking for downsizing as part of their submission. So I'm still hoping that that can be got. But I'm really, really concerned that there's something going on here in relation to the foundations, because anybody that you would have spoken to in the last 6 months, year, who are got really, really exercised about the fact that how could you build a brand new house and still leave a foundation and that may have pyrite or may have some substandard element within it that would undermine the house. And it baffles me.
Okay, before we bring Breed and Michael in, and I don't really think it's necessarily that important to ask you what it would take for you to rejoin Fine Gael. I don't really think in the wider scale of things it's that big an issue, if you know what I mean. And I mean that with respect to you. I don't mean it for me to pin you to 2 or 3 things. I'm not really sure where that gets us or gets this whole thing. But I will ask this, because people are interested in it, is downsizing enough for you to sort of rejoin the party that you're very loyal to and you love and you've spent your life in, and your friends and what have you were in there? I've no doubt about that. Is that enough for you, or does this report open up other questions for you? And I do note that in your answer you said that you may consider if that were a concession, right? You never said I would. So in fairness to you, you did choose your language in that regard. But what does it take now for you to rejoin Fine Gael, Joe?
Okay, the downsizing is one issue. The other issue is that the so-called cap of 420, it's not a cap of 420, it's a cap of 395, because they're including accommodation costs, storage costs, and the emergency works of 5,000. So your cap is effectively 395. So if you have a cap of 395, you have initially, before inflation, before the cost of material went up, there were 18% of the householders excluded. But because of the prices coming in from contractors at the moment, there's 50% of the people going over that cap. So that means there's people excluded. So there needs to be movement on making it more affordable for the people who can't even get to the start of this scheme. And that's my real worry. I nearly spent all day yesterday on the phone to people, with different people ringing me with MICA issues, but the consistent message is people are going to find it very difficult to get on the scheme. I want the scheme started. Yes, it's an improved scheme on the previous scheme, but I think with those 2 issues in particular, we could make movement. And to answer your question, if I can get movement on those 2 issues, yes, that opens up a conversation with the party.
And 2 very brief questions before we bring Breed and Michael in here. Are you still resolute in that you are not going to contest the next general election? Could you be swayed with everything that's going on? I'm not seeing an awful lot of movement to try and figure out a solution to fix the Joe McHugh problem. You still retain a good level of support. You're still young. You're in good health. And we spoke to you about all of that. There'd be no shame in a change of mind. Are you wobbling on the retirement from the Dáil at all?
No, I'm not, Greg.
Okay, well then the second question is, we might have a second, an additional seat for Europe in Midlands Northwest. Could you be tempted, maybe, if the stars aligned, to contest that for Fine Gael?
No, because it would be contradicting my position, why I'm leaving in the first place. So no, I know to both questions.
That was really quite easy then. So, Michael, I'll go to you first. This is an incredible document. I've only managed to scan it, but it kind of rips everything up and throws it all out. And at the end of the day, too, I'm so conscious of it doesn't really progress for people living in terrible conditions with heartache and little hope. It doesn't really progress things for them. We learn more, but no one's woken up today in a better position, Michael.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. It's a sad story. It's a hard story. We'll look back on this in time and think about how the authorities and responsibilities had to be dragged, how much work the public had to put into this to argue their case. That's what your government is for, is to argue the case for the people. And the people had to do all this themselves, and now they're even doing more again. And it's something that on one hand, I can't believe that it had been such a long struggle and had gone on for so long, and it's still going on. And it's not something any public bodies or that there, could stand over and say we did a good job. And I know there was good sentiments there too, because initially they were calling it the 90-10 scheme. So somebody was saying, let's cover most of it, nearly all of it, right? But Joe, as you'd said many times before, that was kind of the bit that got out. And then after that, everything that happened then was, how we're going to claw that back. And maybe that was a lack of everybody being on the same page. But for anybody in their homes with their families, with their kids and that there, it's just incredibly hard. And in terms of us having such a successful economy, in terms of when we look back, when we had the banking crisis and the property crisis and all those sorts of things there, and I watched in how different people reporting on it at times, how it was worked through. And at the end of the day, I mean, everybody goes for the big headline sum of money of billions, but that's going to be out over 10, 20 years.
Not to mention the massive clawback in terms of VAT and tax and job creation and tax from that.
I mean, there's a whole analysis.
There's such an argument to say let's go full throttle at rebuilding these houses, obviously because it's the right thing to do, but also, right, I'll come back to you, Breed. I just feel so much for everyone affected by this, and I know what this is all about personally myself here, right? But even this week, it's like there's conversations happening that just add insult to injury, like the fact that by 2028 the EU wants every new house to be built zero emission, yet at the same time we're asking people to rebuild their homes to 2008 standards. And yes, maybe there's access to another grant of 25,000-30,000 that might shore it up a little bit, but people are going, what about us? I mean, what's
there's no
going
joined
on?
up thinking at all. There's no joined up thinking at all. Look at any homeowner who's listening to their house at night crumbling down around them and wondering where they're going with it, isn't concerned about whether it's mica or pyrite. They just want this scheme up and running and they want to get it going. So I'm totally in favour of that. And I hear what Deputy McHugh has said in relation to the scheme and the limitations. I think the important priority at this stage is to get it started and get things going. And so that at least, I mean, the old Chinese proverb, when's the best time to build a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Now. We need to get things moving now in relation to that. And the other thing I want to say is I'm totally in awe of Deputy McHugh. He's the only politician I've ever heard on a radio station answer a question successfully and honestly.
Yeah, but he knew what I was going to ask him. I never told him.
He didn't know what you were going to say, but I have to say,
listen,
I think he should actually stay in politics.
Deputy McHugh knows. Deputy McHugh, he knows we don't warn anything up. He knew what I was going to. Okay, as I say, we don't do any warm-ups or anything, and Deputy McHugh attests that. But he knew exactly what I was going to. He's been around too long not to know that. But no, it's actually it is good to get clear answers. Okay, Breed, sorry, is there anything else you wanted to add after that? By the way,
no, not. I'm still in awe of Deputy McHugh. Thanks.
Well, okay.
I'm shocked. I'm stunned.
Right, let's not get
stunned into silence.
Let's not get carried away with ourselves.
All right, okay.
I'm only joking, Breed. Listen, thank you very much. That's Breed Curran Solicitor. You're hearing Michael Margay and also Deputy Joe McHugh. Back with more from all three after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny are proud to announce that they're now stocking Riker footwear. Riker blend fashionable styles with incredible comfort, striking the perfect balance between fashion and practicality. All Riker shoes are made using unique anti-stress and anti-shock technology to provide the essential support and comfort the brand is known for. Try any of the new season Riker shoes now at Green Shoes, Market Square, Letterkenny.
Hi, Monty Morrissey here. The Marty Party is coming to Donegal to the Cranry Hotel in Letterkenny on Friday, March 31st. It's a party like you've never experienced before. Joining me will be Donegal's latest sensational group, Honor, David James and Real to Dance. Also performing will be Eurovision winners Paul Harrington and Charlie McGilligan, the stunning Irish dance group Coija, and many more. Win flights, holidays and hampers. Tickets available at the Cranry Hotel. Book now and join us for the Marty Party.
This weekend, enjoy great value bank holiday offers at Tesco like Cadbury's Twirl 198 gram, Maltesers Teasers 248 gram, Smarties 226 gram, and more large Easter eggs. Were €4.50, now 2 for €5. Plus, get 25% off F&F ladies and men's nightwear and slippers until Sunday, March 19th, only with your Tesco Club card or app. For savings you can bank on this weekend. Tesco. Every little helps. Product subject to availability. Excludes express stores.
Ireland's most exciting new folk group, Hughes, play the Mellon Country in Omagh on St Patrick's Night and the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, on Saturday the 18th, bringing traditional Irish folk music to a new generation. Don't miss Hughes. Friday the 17th in the Mellon Country Inn and Saturday the 18th in the Clanry Hotel. Check out hughesband.com for details.
Yeah, and they are doing brilliant things. You're welcome back. We're in the company of Breed, Michael and Joe. We're talking about some of the big stories that have been making the headlines. And I mean, you know, again, following on from what we started off with in terms of, you know, building the economy, attracting businesses and the benefits from that, again, sometimes it feels like it's a separate conversation to the reality, because we learned recently that a number of school projects are not going to proceed. We spoke to Deputy John McHugh about this before. We'll get some more views from him. But Breed, have you any concerns that, you know, when we have really important projects like schools not going ahead and the disappointment for the teachers, headmasters, headmistresses, you know, the parents, guardians, and the pupils, some of the conditions, you know, they've built up so long just to get to the brink. And I just wonder, I hope it's not, that we're not sort of starting to begin to see a slowdown in this type of activity, you know, or the important infrastructure like schools and roads and what have you.
Yeah, the impact on the teachers and students. A lot of these children and teachers have been working in horrific conditions in temporary, outdated accommodation. Look at it, and it comes back to inflation again. It's the high construction costs and high construction inflation. A lot of these projects stalled. One, the Gaelskull in my own hometown, Ballygunall, stalled as a result of this. It's a toss-up now and a struggle between Pascal Donoghue, who's holding the purse strings, and Norma Foley, who's trying her best, I'm sure, to release as much funding as possible. I think something that Deputy McHugh might be able to I think it's 860 million allocated for building projects this year, which seems like a massive amount of money. But I'm sure with inflation, construction inflation is the enemy here. I'm hugely concerned about anything that impacts on education. Education for me is where it all starts and where it all ends, and we have to be seen, and we have to do something about making sure that kids who are in outdated and dilapidated prefabs and maybe schools divided over 2 or 3 campuses, we have to do something in relation to this, and it has to be a priority for Pascal Donoghue. So he's going to have to release more money to counteract this high construction inflation and open up the purse strings for Norma.
Deputy McHugh, why are we seeing these projects stalled? What's the reason?
Sorry, I was just taking down a couple of notes there. Just first of all, Greg Brejas, yeah, that figure is correct. It's 860 million. That's the capital budget for this year. The reason is, I suppose, you know, the argument that'll be given by Deeper and the officials on there is a 26% increase in inflation in 2 years. But that being said, if you take, for example, the 3 schools that are ready to go live in Donegal here, and even one that was in Laois, the Colby Special School in Laois, but for the likes of Moville, Gaelskull, Donegal Town, and Letterkenny, St Eunice Letterkenny is ready to go to tender. Like, there will be a figure for each of those schools. Take, for example, this is not attributing to any school, say an example, a figure of 7 million, but that won't be 7 million spent next year. That'll be spent over 2 years. So you're talking 3.5 million a year. So I believe the minister doesn't have a choice, and Breed has correctly identified where the issue is here, because it is Pascal Donoghue who is asking questions around this, and certainly one of the victims of success for our county is because we have a lot of schools in the system here at the moment, and we need to ensure that the money spent, all engineering costs, all the design teams, all the planning permissions processes, and the costs associated with that, it would be an absolute abdication of responsibility across the political system, across the department, if we were to stop any of these projects.
But just in relation to a school and it's tendered for, right, is there any uplift for inflation in these agreements with the contractors?
Yeah, there was an uplift. It might have, like, it's 1.5% maybe or in around that figure. That was introduced last year because of the increase. But like the reality of it is there was a awardee of a tender for Scoil Isagan and Buncrana, and in fairness to the company, a very reputable company, they just couldn't stand over the price because this was about 2 years ago. So the price they gave would, basically they'd be out by a couple of million or something.
So are we looking at these projects being retendered then, or do we know, and obviously we can't speak for every contractor that's in, if we say, right, okay, let's pick a figure of 25%, we'll increase the contracts by, I know I'm using very basic terms, but you know what I'm saying. Would that resolve it, or are we going to have people that say, hold on, if I take a step back here, public anger begins to grow, maybe I can get an extra 35-40%?
Well, you see, the danger in using Scoil Isagan and Buncrana as an example, what happened with Scoil Isagan, once they were awarded the tender contract, everything was sorted, everything was ready to go, and in fairness to the contractor, they weren't in a position to go ahead with a contractor that was going to be costing them money. So what happened there was the planning permission ran out, so Scoil Isagan had to go for planning again. The costs involved in that. Now they're back on the process again. So there's schools like Scoil Isagan, there's schools like Errigal College in Letterkenny and Ulster National School in Letterkenny. They're in the system, and it's important that the 3 schools that are ready to go off the system now, basically diggers are ready to go on site in Gaelscoil, Donegal Town, diggers are ready to go on site in Moville. Letterkenny St Eunan's is ready to go to tender, so we cannot stop them, because if we stop them, we're ripping the whole.
So what has to happen to make sure that we don't stop them? And I want to be sort of solution focused here, if you know what I mean, because some of the people affected could be listening. So what needs to happen, and by whom, and is it likely to happen then?
What needs to happen is that very, very quickly around the cabinet table, and I'm hoping, I'm not privy to the conversations that go on between Norman Foley and Pascal Donoghue, but I'm hoping that the pressure has been put on right around that table on the department officials to get it sorted. And I know Minister Foley's in the county at the end of the month, and I'm hoping that she will have good news with her, if not on that day, or if not before it.
Okay. And is that just you being an optimist, or do you have you getting positive soundings?
I'm looking at it logically, Greg. I can't, like, the last thing now, could you imagine if Scoil Caramaistra or Moville started running out of planning permission again, and they had to go back to scratch again? It would be it just would be unacceptable, but also would be a complete abdication of responsibility at a political level. And I think they've no choice, and they have to do it. My God, the parents, the teachers that are living, working in these conditions. I was in Downing's National School the last day. They have a new extension. Glen Swilly National School there on don't know what day it was, on the Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. They are working in conditions now where there's a smile on their face, the staff, there's a happiness there, and it's just wrong. And when you consider the first photograph I got Monday morning was from Scoil Caramaistra, there was a bucket underneath, a leaking ceiling. They're in prefabs for over nearly 24 years. Prefabs for 24 years, and they're the same prefabs. It's just unfathomable. It's wrong. I know Bridge is a Donegal Town woman herself, a native, and you know exactly you'll know people in there that work there, and it's wrong. And especially a school that's doing so much for the Irish language. It's a Gaelscoil, and parents continue to send them back because the teachers are brilliant, the staff are brilliant, they do great work, but the working conditions are just unacceptable.
Michael, to you, it's hard to add to that, I would imagine, because most of what's wrong with all of this is covered, and we hope that Deputy McHugh's former, they're still colleagues, are listening to those types of words and make the right decision. There's only one way to go here, and that's to do the right thing. You're muted there, Michael, sorry.
Sorry there, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Greg, I think Joe really got the sense of it there for us. You know, it's about the kids, it's about the teachers, it's about the impact that they have for everybody else, and the conditions that they're in is just shocking in some cases. But also say as well, you know, when you're looking at local regional economies and you're looking at jobs and things like that there, you know, the quality of your schools and your education system is really important for attracting people as well. And it's also about your health services too. So, you know, making investment in your schools has a much, much wider impact as well. And, you know, we have a fabulous place to work and live in. We just need more investment. And whether it's our schools or wherever it is, it just has to happen. That's as simple as that. There's no other way they can get around it. Investment in.
Yep. All right. Listen, just a couple of minutes to finish on a frivolous enough one, I suppose. Or maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Of course, Breed recognised the amazing success of Ireland at the Oscars. Okay, we didn't walk away with arms full, but we certainly were put on the map. Some of the headlines, though, following that was the bit of jeering at the Irish, presenting us as Arabic Iris. You can't understand the word we're saying, and all we do is drink. Now, I'm fully aware that we're going to see pictures probably of Joe Biden pulling a pint of Guinness in a bar somewhere, so maybe we're our own worst enemies in this regard. Is it something that we should be offended by, Breed, or should we just roll with the punches?
You know, it was completely tone deaf and deeply offensive for some people. Other people, I personally didn't find it deeply offensive, but I just thought it wasn't very funny. You know, Saturday Night Live is not a program that I would watch on a regular basis anyway, and I think that it's calling them comedians is actually a disservice to comedians. You know, I just thought it wasn't very funny. Look, of course, all nations are stereotyped. You know, the French with their frogs' legs and their cheese and their garlic, and the Italians being very loud but very stylish people, and Cavan people being mean with money. Everybody can be stereotyped, and it is just unfortunate that so-called comedians thought that this was funny. Very offensive to Colin Farrell, a man who has struggled with alcoholism and has been sober for over 20 plus years.
Great point.
And I just thought it said more about them than it did about us. I don't think it was deeply offensive. I just didn't think it was very funny. Some of my father's jokes are funnier.
And Michael, in asking the question, I'm fully conscious of the more serious stuff we've talked of and what's going on in the world. But, you know, there is a perception out there too, and maybe even all of our TDs having to fight it, that, oh, you're not going to get drunk and start fighting, are you? I won't mention any names, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not completely insignificant either in terms of our global reputation, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think similar to Breed, you know, somewhere I probably touched a chord with people and they thought, I didn't like that, or some people may have been very strongly offended by it. It was for a particular audience. It's a Saturday Night Live show that they're playing to.
And they don't pull any punches in having a go at you know, say for instance, people of colour. For you know what I mean, like they will go hard on that every Saturday night, because I do happen to see the clips. So we kind of, in terms of ethnic groups, if we could call ourselves that, kind of got off a little bit lightly. But I mean, that being said,
yeah, and it might be more acceptable in another country than maybe we'll be here. The Saturday Night Live show mightn't go down well here at all if it was a regular show. But look, I think it's, you know, it'll pass by. I think we have a great St. Patrick's Day coming up tomorrow for everybody to enjoy it. You know, we've a fantastic diaspora out there. We've come an awful long way. We've had really hard times from the times when we had to leave our shores, and look at the successes we've been able to make of things.
Yeah. We are. I understand exactly your sentiment, but I also want to recognise there's an awful lot of parents whose kids have left their shores over the last few months, and I'm not saying you're not recognising that, Michael, but it's just, if you don't mind me adding that on as well. Finally, Joe, in a minute, are you upset?
Yeah, look, it's annoying, but I think Breed and Michael got it there, and Breed is right. Like it wasn't even funny, and that's the sad part, that it was portrayed as humour.
Some of my father's jokes are funnier.
Yeah,
and look, That's a difficult bit, but I'll tell you one thing. I think it affected the chances of those two brilliant films, Callian Kuhn and Banshees of Inisherin. I really do think it affected their chances because they were on their way for big awards, and I think it did damage. And can I just lastly say this, Greg? I think we all get these wee videos from time to time on WhatsApp and all that, done stereotyping loads of stuff. I think we all have responsibility. I got loads of videos of that kind of stuff, and I just deleted them. So I think maybe we've a responsibility to take ownership of when something's wrong. We know it's wrong, and not to be forwarding it on to people.
Okay, well, enjoy your weekends. Are you leading any parades, Joe? Are you the Grand Marshal anywhere?
Well, look, believe it or not, I haven't been down in the family hasn't been down the country since Christmas, so we're going down the country for St. Patrick's Day. And
enjoy.
If I was running the next election, maybe I might have to say something different. But we're going down. The family's going down, but we're back up playing football on Sunday in Letterkenny.
We're really getting an insight today, aren't we? All right, listen. I'm on about in terms of if you're running for election, you'd have been in Carrickart Main Street. But anyway, listen, come here. Take care of yourself. Thanks very much indeed. Michael, bye-bye. Have a lovely one. Breed's already gone. I don't know if I did that or she did it. But anyway, Breed and Michael, thank you both very much, and have a lovely weekend. Take care. All right, we'll be back with the weather forecast and then the news after these.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Some sports demand resilience, grit, power. Cheltenham demands it all. And this is William Hill Racing at Cheltenham. Get our top price guarantee against selected bookmakers on all championship races. It's who you play with, William Hill.
Top prices from 9 a.m. 27th to February 23 until the start of each of the 4 championship races compared to selected competitors. Standard win market odds only. Excludes competitor offers. Further terms apply. 18 plus for advice and information. Visit gamblingcare.ie.
Keep out the cold, 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 and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Ireland's most exciting new folk group, Kjol, play the Mellon Country in Oma on St. Patrick's Night and the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, on Saturday the 18th, bringing traditional Irish folk music to a new generation. Don't miss Kjol. Friday the 17th in the Mellon Country Inn and Saturday the 18th in the Clanry Hotel. Check out kjolband.com for details.
Every Tuesday morning on Highland Radio, we'll be joining Colm and Sophie for Clar Cigar as we catch up with them for some Canchuggers crack on the way to school. Next time, Colm and Sophie will be chatting about a special birthday.
Agus by Jessica for couple of Fakala Usage Freshing. So Biggie Lane, Mudging Jamarch and Shaw or Highland Radio.
The Naughty Alarm Clock. Highland Radio.
Arna Weenu ag Udaras Krelahain na Heron, na Chantalia Cadinis Telefisha.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, a mostly wet and cloudy start today with outbreaks of rain, clearing northeastwards through the morning. Sunny spells will follow along with scattered showers, some heavy with thunderstorms and hail possible later in the afternoon and evening. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees. Okay, my apologies. We're going to be going to news just a minute and a half late because we slightly overrun in our Friday panel discussion. I apologise to Donna Marie, but we'll be back after the news and obituary notices. Stay right where you are.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Celebrate St. Patrick's Day with Letterkenny CDP in the Courtyard Shopping Centre, Letterkenny from 12 noon till 3 p.m. This is a family fun event with traditional music and dance, games and face painting, arts and crafts, Irish stew and mocktails. This event is part funded by the Northwest Regional Drugs and Alcohol Task Force.
Say thank you to your mum this Mother's Day with a treat from Kelly Centra in Letterkenny. A card, flowers or chocolates, maybe your favourite dessert, or a luxury hamper. There's loads of options for you to find something that takes her fancy on Mother's Day. All at Kelly's award-winning Centra at Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
Hi, Marty Morrissey here. The Marty Party is coming to Donegal to the Cranry Hotel in Letterkenny on Friday, March 31st. It's a party like you've never experienced before. Joining me will be Donegal's latest sensational group, Honor, David James and Real to Dance. Also performing will be Eurovision winners Paul Harrington and Charlie McGilligan, the stunning Irish dance group Coija, and many more. Win flights, holidays and hampers. Tickets available at the Cranry Hotel. Book now and join us for the Marty Party.
The perfect Mother's Day gift to see the one and only Tom Jones in Belfast. Join us as Highland Radio hit the road to see the timeless legend as he headlines Belsonic 2023, Friday 16th of June. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast in the 4-star Clayton Hotel Belfast and your standing ticket to the outdoor event. Contact us today on 074 9125,000 to see Tom Jones at Ormo Park Belfast, Friday 16th of June.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news just after 10 o'clock. Donegal Deputy Joe McHugh says he believes regulations are being used to attack the defective concrete blocks redress scheme. Talking on the 9 to Noon show this morning, Deputy McHugh says he's not asking affected homeowners to downsize and he thinks officials are using housing foundations as a way to avoid a technical rebuild.
I believe the foundations have been used by officials to create a system that does not require the definition of rebuild. And I think that's why we're getting caught on the regulation and go back to 1997 regulation, go back to 2007 regulation. And I think the foundations have been used as a stick to beat this scheme with.
Letterkenny Municipal District has been told that if disabled parking bays don't meet the needs of the people who use them, then they shouldn't be placed in that location. Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh was speaking after moving a motion that asked a dropped curb to be provided at a disabled bay on Lower Main Street in Letterkenny. When he was told that doing so would cause a hazard at the entrance to neighbouring properties, Councillor Kavanagh suggested that the parking bay be relocated and that the decision to place it there would be reviewed.
It simply just shouldn't go down unless the whole job has been done to make it accessible for the person getting out of the car, whether they're getting out of the driver's seat or whether they're getting out of the passenger seat or whether they're getting out of the back of the car or whatever. All those things need to be considered, and if those sort of criteria are not met, well then the spot should not be provided there. It should be provided somewhere that is suitable.
A West Donegal councillor believes tourism needs to be sustainable, managed and limited for the benefit of all. Councillor Michael Collum Magilla Aspug says while he welcomes a focus on tourism in the west of the county, property prices, homelessness and the Irish language and environment are being negatively impacted. He says efforts must be made to mitigate against people being forced out of the locality.
We see in other parts around maybe England or Scotland, and especially in Europe, where tourism hadn't been managed in a sustainable way, and it has forced even locals out of the community. Even if you look at, for an example, Dunfanaghy, which has become a massive tourist spot for a very long time, where locals are left not being able to afford to buy land for their children to build their homes.
It's hoped that substantial works will take place shortly in Buncrana on the shore walk to Father Hegarty's grave. Donegal County Council is seeking €80,000 from the Community Recognition Fund to be spent on resurfacing and drainage works, as well as the provision of accessible toilets. The money was sought by the Buncrana Tidy Towns Committee. Councillor Rena Donaghy says it will augment existing facilities in the area, and she's confident the application will be accepted.
We as local councillors, we have been asking for toilets to be put in place at Ned's Point in Buncrana for a long time now. And this is great news altogether. And to think that the path has a good chance of being upgraded as well. It's great news because the very famous and widely used scenic walk, particularly St Swan's Park, has been refurbished. The numbers have greatly, greatly increased. And this is a beautiful, beautiful area of Inishowen.
The Northern Ireland Secretary says he's not looking to put extra oomph behind the Stormont framework in Washington this week. Much of this year's St. Patrick's Day programme in America is focused on the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. US President Joe Biden will meet the Northern Irish parties on Friday, in part to discuss the framework. But Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris says unionists need to be given the time and space to consider it.
I will be meeting with senior people in the administration, but not to try and get oomph behind things. I think everybody's very pleased with what's been negotiated between the United Kingdom government and the European Union, and now everybody is doing their bit to make sure there's the time and space that people want to have to allow the Democratic Unionist Party and unionist community to come to terms with what is in that deal, and hopefully get the executive up and running again.
And now for weather, wet and cloudy to start, with outbreaks of rain clearing northeastwards through the morning. Sunny spells will follow along with scattered showers, some heavy with thunderstorms and the possibility of hail later. Mild with highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees, and moderate fresh south-southwest winds easing later. That's all for now. We'll be back again with news headlines at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 16th of March. The death has taken place in Cork of Kieran Aiken, 29 Glentain Close, Letterkenny. His remains will repose at his home in Letterkenny from 3 o'clock this afternoon. House private pleas to family. Funeral arrangements will be confirmed later. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to Brew Columbanus, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Irene McCrudden, formerly of 63 Dunedin Park, Belfast, recently of Bradley Manor Care Home, Belfast. Remains reposing at her daughter Hilary's residence at Conlon Road, Killybegs, from 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock tomorrow. Removal on Saturday at 12:30 to St Mary of the Visitation Church, Killybegs, for 1 o'clock funeral mass, with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Mass will be streamed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only, please. House private on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of Kate McCole, née Rogers, Shaskanarone, Dunlow. Her remains will repose in Midlands Funeral Home today from 12 noon, with rosary at 6. Removal afterwards to her home in Shaskanarone, with rosary tomorrow night at 9. House private, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass in St Cronus Church, Dunlow, on Saturday morning at 11, with burial afterwards in Mahery Cemetery. The death has taken place of Edward Duggan, Hillhead St Johnson, formerly of Brocka St Johnson, reposing at Quigley's Funeral Home this evening from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow evening at 5 to St Bathans Church, St Johnson, for Requiem Mass on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of John Midlinchy, Tullyvinny, Rufo. John will repose at his late residence from 11 o'clock this morning, with family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Funeral from his late residence tomorrow afternoon at 12:30, going to St Eunan's Church, Rufo, for 1 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live online via the parish webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Relay for Life Donegal, care of any family member, or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has occurred of Phyllis Galvin, Transala St Johnson. The house is strictly private, please. Funeral from her late residence on Saturday morning at 10:20, going to St Bathans Church, St Johnson, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred in Malta of Celine Melly, Lally, Mina Gowan, Letchermacca Ward. Her remains are reposing at her home, with funeral mass today at 12 noon in St Bridget's Church, Letchermacca Ward, burial afterwards in the new cemetery. The death has taken place of Francie Doherty, the Pans, Cranford. Removal from his sister Annette McLaughlin's home at Clonkillimore, Termon, this morning at 11, going to the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Cool Cranford, for Requiem Mass at 12 noon, followed by interment in Umla Cemetery, Carrigart. Family fares only, please. Donations, if desired, to Miva Fire Service, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Gary McGinley, Moneen, Ballandrate, Lifford, reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murdoch, at 11:30. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The house is private to family and friends only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers to Carrick-on-Shannon Rapid River Responders, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed at clonleyparish.com. The death has occurred of Eugene O'Donnell, 28, Castlemurray, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:10 for Requiem Mass at 9:30 in St Mary's Church, Melmount, followed by interment in St Teresa's Churchyard, Sion Mills. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 12 noon. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Marie Curie Cancer Care, care of any family member. The death has occurred in Hutton, Essex, England, of Mary Fallon, née O'Brien, formerly of Chronology, Crossroads, Killygordon. Funeral has taken place in Essex. Memorial Mass will be celebrated in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon, this evening at 7:30. The Mass will be streamed live on the St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon YouTube channel. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
What does Ireland sound like? Is it the mournful cry of the uilleann pipes floating over a lonely mountain pass? Or waves lapping on a wild western shore? Is it the gentle sound of rain on a soft spring day? Or welcoming voices in a cosy local pub?
Right, folks, do you not have homes to go to?
Over.
No, this is what Ireland sounds like. KFC's original recipe, chicken fillet roll. This St. Patrick's Day, it's got to be KFC.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It's the last one of the week because it's a public holiday tomorrow on National Day. What are you doing tomorrow? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. Later on in the show, we're putting across some time to help you maybe plan your St. Patrick's Day. We're going to be speaking to some organisers of some events to try and maybe, hopefully, if it gives it a wee push, sure, wouldn't that be time well spent? So we're going to do that. And Donna's going to be joining us. Donna Rosemary Scallon will be joining us as well. She's got a new single out. We're going to hear that and have a chat to Donna as well. Any questions for Donna? 086 60 25,000. We are going to be speaking to Professor Paul Dunlop about that research on the effective concrete block crisis and that and so much more besides. But what I want to do is give you a quick, this is before the bingo and I want to get some requests as well, but I want to also give you an opportunity to win 2 tickets into a very special draw that's being run by St Mary's GEA in Convoy. They're giving away €50,000 tomorrow. Can you imagine 50k on St Patrick's Day? Wouldn't that be nice? We have a couple of tickets to give away. Is the draw being made for that tomorrow? It is, yeah, tomorrow evening. Right, so we have a couple of tickets to give away today. We have a simple question for you to answer, and you could win them. But also, you can go along to their social media, their website, and you can buy them yourself to be involved in that if you so wish and support the development of St Mary's GEA in Convoy. Here are the details of today's competition and how you can get your hands on 2 of those tickets for free on the 9 till noon show.
On this week's show, with thanks to our sponsors, St Mary's GEA Convoy Development Draw, we're giving you the chance to win 2 tickets to their 50k for €50 draw. To be in with a chance of winning this prize, all you have to do is answer the following question. What's the capital of France? Is it A, Paris, or B, Convoy? Text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000.
Can we give the tickets to someone who says Convoy? I would just, the question is... No, we can't do that. The question is, what's the capital of France? Is it A, Paris, or B, Convoy? Anyone? I would almost... I'd always give away a mug for anyone who texts in the wrong answer. But anyway, listen, right answers only, please. 086 60 25,000. Okay, let's read some of your comments. Good morning. Once again, the people of Cunningham are waking up to having no water. There was no warning from Ishka Éireann that the water would be off, and there is no mention of it on their website of what time the water will be restored. It is a disgrace that this is happening. Now, let me see if I can get information on that for you. There was a few outages last evening as well. I think some areas of Letterkenny were also affected. Let's see if they have anything up here on the situation in Cunningham. No, as part of the National Leakage Reduction Programme, mains repair work may affect supply to Ahivanan near Rathmullen and Sarans from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. That's the 22nd of March. And they were currently investigating reports of a supply disruption in Letterkenny. More information to follow. That information never followed. And that's it. No reference to Cunningham at all. So I presume some of you out there logged it, didn't you? Mayville Community College simply cannot be delayed cannot be delayed. We are ready to dig after then Minister McHugh announced that full funding was approved in April 2014. It's taken this long to get through 3 stages of planning. This is torture for all others at stage 3 too. Another, if we want to remove the drink culture, we need to stop having high-profile people coming here and downing a pint of Guinness. Any bets President Biden will come here and we'll have him in a pub in Donegal pouring a drink or drinking a pint. Good morning, Greg. The same situation with the New Health Centre in Dunfanaghy. Thanks, Charlie. Indeed, Charlie, we covered the Dunfanaghy delays there as well. That's my concern, that a lot of these projects that are effectively shovel-ready are not going to go ahead. We inquired with the HSE about Dunfanaghy, I believe. I'm not sure if we got a response. I'll double-check that for you. A caller says the retrofit grants are out of reach for most people due to the high cost people have to pay before the grants are paid out. I need to do multiple jobs on the house to get the grant. Grant should be given for any work that will improve the rating of the property, not subject to reaching a minimum rating with this specific improvement. People are more likely to do the work one job at a time when they can afford it. You could need to spend 50k to get 25k grant for a major retrofit. That's why I've never even gone beyond the opening paragraph. Most people do not have the resources at hand to front load or to contribute to retrofit. So the grants are for people that can probably afford to do the work themselves. It's just a little bit of a break for them. Do you know that if you can't afford to pump your cavity right at the moment, or to insulate your roof, if you can't afford it at the moment, well, then retrofit grants are of no use to you. If you have a certain amount of money and you say, you know what, we'd like a nice cozy home, and you probably could afford to do it yourself, then you can get the grant. How does that make sense? Red tape, incompetence and inefficiency are to blame. I presume that's as it relates to delays in continuing school projects. Mayville Community College in planning process since 2015, so don't blame it all on inflation. Good point. Another councillor, Frank McBurty, has been telling everyone that Micah was not the main cause of crumbling homes. He's been the only councillor asking people to give its proper name to deleterious materials. Morning, Greg. In regards to Micah, I remember there was a legal representative on Highland a while back who was representing Micah homeowners and looking to represent more. Did that case ever progress? It's a work in progress. Obviously, the wheels of justice move incredibly slowly, but it is progressing and thousands of people are involved in that. Once again, Joe McHugh talking out of both sides of his mouth. Is Joe going to downsize his house? Well, I never heard Joe saying anything sort of pro-Dublin, pro-government in that interview, and that's not a defence. It's just, I thought it was quite frank in some of what he had to say. Good morning, Greg. Mr. Coveney took a flight in May 2021 for 3 days on the government jet to China. It cost nearly 200k. How is this allowed to happen? This is an abuse of the people's money. Hypocrites, they all are. No rules for them. We are an open economy. Yes, we do need to send our political representatives to bat for Ireland. We get an audience with the most powerful nation in the world. What other small country has that? I accept that, right? I get that, and we hear that every year. And I'll read the comment in full, right? But where's the dividend at this point? We've been doing this for years and years and years and years. And yes, there are people listening to this programme that are very, very comfortable. There are an awful lot of people that are struggling to make ends meet, can't afford to pay rent, can't afford to pay fuel, can't afford a present for the children, can't afford a holiday, can't afford to repair the car, can't afford to fix the washing machine, which isn't working at the moment, can't afford to fix stuff that needs to be fixed, right? At what point are all of these trips going to benefit those people? Thousands upon thousands of people living in poverty listening to this programme today and right around the country. We can't have these conversations in a vacuum or ignorant to the reality. We have a disastrous health service at the moment. We have a housing crisis that's only getting worse. And so many other challenges facing this country. I find it hard to get excited that we have a meeting with Joe Biden and we can give him a bowl of shamrock. I find it hard to get excited that at some point down the line, a trip to New Zealand or Singapore or Dubai or Canada or New Zealand, or who is that going to benefit? Is it maybe? It could be big farmers. I heard this morning that farmers are buying up land so they don't have to reduce their herds, and that some of them now, by the way, and I'm talking about the big guys, some of them can buy a €1 million parcel of land, and have it half paid for in cash in a year. That was a claim made this morning. So who is all of these trips benefiting? Is it average Joe? Clearly not yet. So when is this dividend from all of these flights going to happen for the majority of people out there? I'll read this text in full out of respect for this listener who's good enough to text in, and we appreciate it. And you will probably agree with them, okay? We're an open economy. Yes, we do need to send our political representatives to bat for Ireland. We get an audience with the most powerful nation in the world. What other small country has that? The planes will fly anyway. And what does it matter whether you sit in the front or back? We stop the traffic in New York. No other country does that. Stop the begrudgery and celebrate on National Day. Morning, Greg. So tired of listening to these people justifying our politicians flying all over the world, giving themselves pay rises, plus all the expenses they give themselves. They've no idea how ordinary people are struggling to live day to day. Your panel don't seem to have our problems from what they're saying. Thank you. Another. Good morning, Greg. Can anyone honestly say that these politicians actually believe what they are telling us about the climate issues? They're just talking heads for Europe. They just read off the same script. Look at the actions, not what they say. Remember what they did during COVID. They didn't believe. And look, fear was being used for all of us. I don't think that anyone's denying that, to stop us doing stuff. You know, we made incredible sacrifices. And at the same time, people were going to parties in governments, you know, Gulfgate and what have you, and doing stuff that we weren't able to do. Again, did they know something? That's what that listener's asking. And now we're being told that, you know, you can't burn turf, you can't sell it, you know, you can't buy a certain type of coal, although that coal is dirty and bad for people with with respiratory illnesses and what have you. We're paying a carbon tax on home heating oil to discourage us from using it. That's it, the motivation. We're paying carbon taxes on our petrol and diesel. We're being told to switch electric, which has its advantages, but they haven't put the infrastructure in properly to allow that to happen. We're being told we must do this, that and the other. We're being told that Eamon Ryan cycles to work. But the reality is that they're all away on craft, which are the biggest polluters of all aeroplanes. So you can't then come back and expect us to forget that, and then expect us to comfortably adhere to your rules that you don't live by. You don't live by the rules, so why should we? That's what people are feeling, and make a counter argument. We're being told to do one thing, but they're not doing that as well, and that is going to upset and anger people, and it doesn't make any sense.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 15th of March. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S13. It's game number 11. The numbers are 73, 87, 17, 26, 70, 37, 57, 21, 9, and finally 63. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Happy Mother's Day.
Treat your mum this Mother's Day to a bottle of perfume or a cosmetics gift from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. You'll find Chanel, Calvin Klein, Dolce & Gabbana, Elizabeth Arden and many more. Great value for great mums this Mother's Day. See in store or order online at mcgees.ie. McGee's, where the best costs less.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's 10:26 now. A major research paper published this week claims that mica is not the primary cause of the failure of defective concrete blocks in Donegal. 4 properties in Inishowen, built between 2001 and 2004, were investigated as part of the research. Now, microstructural and chemical analysis combined with thermodynamic modelling was carried out on those 4 homes affected by defective blocks in Donegal. It was established that apart from mica, the aggregate containing iron sulfides, mainly in the form of pyrrhotite. The research paper, The Microcrisis in Donegal, Ireland, a case of internal sulfite attack, states that comparison of the results of this investigation with the data collected by chartered engineers and almost 100 damaged homes show that the 4 investigated cases are representative of the situation in Donegal. Now, we're joined on the programme by Professor Paul Dunlop, who's a homeowner, of course, and one of the publishers of The Microcrisis in Donegal, Ireland, a case of internal sulfate attack. And that is posed as a question within which I think that question's answered in great detail, Paul.
Morning, Chris. Thanks for having us on to talk about the research.
Now,
so did you have a quick?
Yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon, Paul. There's a slight delay. That's okay. Is there anything in this that has surprised you in the findings?
Well, not really in the paper. I mean, this is the research that we first presented at the European Union last March. I had been working with Andreas in the background since January 2022 sampling, and he was doing the analysis in the concrete. So it was presented there at the European Union. Then it was presented at international conferences in Germany, and also then we presented that work at the conference in Letterkenny in November. So we also, if you recall, in the pre-legislative scrutiny day, Mike Action Group asked us to come along, and we presented that in the Oireachtas as well to the Housing Department Committee, that there's a real problem with pyrrhotite, and that's releasing sulphur, causing internal sulfate attack. Now, the difference between us talking about it in conferences and talking about it on the radio, for example, is that this is a completely different system. This is the science now being basically submitted into the international community to be blind peer-reviewed by our peers in the field, and they have agreed that this research is robust enough to be published in the leading scientific journal in building and construction, cement and concrete research. And to give you an idea of the quality of this journal, only 17% of the papers that are submitted to that journal for review are accepted in the end. I mean, so this has went through the rigors of the international peer review process. No. I don't think that there's any else.
Right, Paul, sorry, the line dropped there, Paul. I beg your pardon. What I wanted to ask you, in the most simplest terms you can, and we understand it's incredibly complex, what then have we found is happening in the process of the cracks appearing, the plaster falling off? You know, you're trying to take a bore sample and it's just dust, and we've seen the images of blocks being, turned to dust by hand. So what scientifically then is happening to cause that?
Well, the paper explains that well. There are 3 phases to this process. It's called internal sulfate attack. The sulfur is needed for this process is coming from pyrrhotite When pyrite comes into contact with oxygen and moisture, it rusts and it releases sulfur. And from the samples that we took, the samples had sulfur in it that were 4 to 8 times higher than allowable under the regulations EN 12620. That's the European standard. Now, the first phase of this process is that the sulfuric acid starts using up minerals in the concrete, and it creates a silt called entragite. And what entragite can do, it swells in volume. So that explains the cracking phenomenon. Okay, so we've often heard of people going out and filling in the cracks in their home one year only to find them opening within a few months of the following year. That's because the concrete is expanding. As the process continues, the second phase kicks in, and what happens is that another mineral called thaumasite is produced. And what thaumasite does is thaumasite actually replaces the cement paste that's gluing everything together. So as that proceeds through time, what you end up is that you end up with concrete that you can crush in your hands. So this process, this internal sulfate attack process, can explain very clearly what we see happening in homes in Donegal. And the analysis that we've done has clearly found that this pyrite mineral is clearly present, and where it has clearly shown that sulfur is far too high. It's breaching European regulations. So it's a serious problem. Now, we looked at 4 homes, but we also looked at reports from Thomas Campbell Group. We had almost 100 homes that had found appreciable different amounts of pyrite in the concrete that was being found by independent laboratories. We looked at the cracks in those reports, and we're saying that basically the cracking and the scale, the cracking and the phenomenon linked to the pyrite in those homes is basically representative of the situation in Donegal. The paper also looked at the temperature regimes in Donegal since the last cold period in 2010, the last big cold period, which was blamed in the 2017 government report as being the cause that mica absorbs water and is freeze thaw. And if you take a look at the data in the paper, I think there's around 50 or 51 days that were below 0 degrees in the last to 2011, and the temperatures aren't cold enough to induce freeze thaw action in concrete, and the pattern of cracking that we find is also not compatible with freeze thaw.
And a lot of that kind of was, a lot of that was kind of, as you read through it, it made a lot of sense in terms of, cracking appearing behind concrete, whether or not the cold could actually penetrate the plaster, let me put it like that, or cracks coming from the roof down and the colder temperatures not really affecting maybe that high up, little things like that there. I suppose on reflection, on reflection, I suppose I kind of went with what you kind of told, if you know what I mean. On reflection, it makes sense that the freeze thaw was not the major contributor to all of this.
I think a lot of people in Donegal who are caught up in this, and myself included, have a lived experience of what we see unfolding in our eyes. Like, we're not far removed from the scenario. And for myself, it never added up to me because my home has been continually deteriorating through the spring and through the summertime. I have seen new cracks in my home appear in the summertime as well, with no frost. I mean, in the last 10 years, it's hardly snowed in Donegal. I mean, this year was a bit colder than the previous few years. It just didn't add up to me. I mean, additionally, too, we've also been told that mica absorbs water. I mean, mica does not absorb water. It's a non-swellable silicate mineral. I mean, it's still not good to have mica in concrete at excessive levels. It's not. I mean, it's well known that it reduces the compressive strength of concrete. But the main issue that it has is during the mixing phase, because the surface area of the mineral does attract water to it, and therefore the mix design changes because it mixes the cement not mix well, and you've got to add more water, and then by adding more water, you can weaken the concrete. So, it's not good to have excessive levels, but it does not explain what we see in the walls in Donegal. Pyrite and internal sulfate attack does.
So,
Greg,
yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, look, the important thing is that we've tested that hypothesis in the international community. We've written what we thought, we've presented the evidence, and it's been accepted by blind peer review and in the top international scientific journal. So, we did this to try and be helpful, to bring some intelligence to the table, and to explain to people what pyrite does and the risk that it has in concrete. That's what we're trying to do, and we hope now that the policymakers will listen to it.
Right, just a couple of simple questions, Paul. What does this mean about how the blocks were constructed, and what level of blame or responsibility may lie there, in terms of, adherence to regulations or what have you? This is still, this has been caused with the manufacturing process and certain guidelines not being followed. Would that be your position?
Well, that's what the analysis shows. It's not what my position is. We all we did is we went and sampled concrete and analysed what was there. We didn't go in with any preconceived notions. Now, we found pyrite present in the samples, and we measured the total sulfur, the total sulfur content as sulfides, i.e., the minerals in the aggregate, and they are all in breach of what's allowable under EN 12620. So there's been a breach of that regulation, and it's clear. So something's went wrong in the manufacturing process of the blocks that we sampled.
And also, what does this mean then in terms of going forward, only repairing outer leaves, or certainly as well, not investigating in more detail, or actually just replacing foundations?
Well, I mean, if the same aggregate is used for concrete foundations, then there is a risk of internal sulfate attack. That's clear. But it's unknown. We just don't know because we haven't had a chance to look at that. We only looked at the concrete blocks, but that absolutely needs to be researched. It is a clear present risk, and we know that internationally from places like Connecticut and Quebec in Canada, where high-grade, strong concrete with pyrite, and it can completely turn it to mush. And we also know that from dams in Switzerland as well, too. It's well known. So concrete foundations must be tested. You at least investigate what's happening, and if there is a risk there, then they need to be removed. And if there's no risk, then that's fine. I think people can live with that. But the idea of just doing nothing's not right.
All right, and then very finally, go ahead, Paul.
Well, in terms of the remediation options, between the outer leaf and the inner leaf, I mean, clearly, if you look at the paper, we say that the outer leaf is most at risk because moisture and oxygen is the problem. But there is a risk in the internal leaf as well, too. There is a process called carbonation as well, too, where concrete can take up CO2. And if that can be allowed to happen over a long period of time, it can reduce the risk of the internal leaf cracking and falling apart. But we do know from many people, homeowner reports and engineers, that many people's homes internally are also cracking. So it may not be the case that the carbonation process has fully happened, but we need more research as well too to find that out.
Right, and very finally, it was drilled into us for years that we must follow the science. What do you believe that this research means in terms of the remediation scheme and how that's operated? Do we have to tear that up? Do we have to tinker with it? What's the story?
Well, to date, this is the first international peer-reviewed journal that has looked at this phenomenon, and it has been accepted after peer review. So this must be taken on board by the policymakers who are reviewing IS 465, by the Department of Housing who are looking at remediation options. I mean, they've been crying out for science. We've heard it in the Dáil in different responses back from questions and different media interviews. Well, there is the first piece of science that shows that. So let's see if that's what if they're good to their word now. There's a piece of science. They need to take it on board, and if they don't like it, they need to say very clearly why a journal that has been published in such a prestigious journal is not good enough for them.
All right, Paul, listen, thanks for your time this morning. I do appreciate it. Professor Paul Dunlop there, thanks for working through the slight delay in the line with us. He is an affected homeowner and one of the publishers of The Mica Crisis, in inverted commas, in Donegal, Ireland, a case of internal sulfate attacks. Okay, thank you very much for that. Due to a little technical error, the wrong bingo numbers went out. It is jackpot day, I suppose, so you are very much waiting to find out what those numbers are. Here they are as we head into a break. Good luck if you're playing today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 16th of March. Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €15,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 11. The jackpot number is 79. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 38. 14. 42, 11, 12, 16, 76, 90, 36, and finally 57. Phone your claim to 91048333 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 16-page Cheltenham pullout. Our man Brian Flanagan gives you the inside scoop from the track. We have Davy Russell and Andy Mack's exclusive views, plus all the top tipsters ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star, #1 for racing, #1 for you.
Bluebird Care are looking for you. Bluebird Care are currently seeking carers and nurses to join their ever-expanding team. Immediate starts for carers in all parts of the county, especially Letterkenny, Inishowen and Donegal Town. Bluebird Care are also looking for registered general nurses for day and nighttime 12-hour shifts. Contact Bluebird Care on 07491299562 or bluebirdcare.ie and bring care home.
If you're having any hearing difficulties, at Donegal Hearing Clinic we can help. If your hearing loss is slight but you want to look into it, or it's got to the point where you've no other choice, we'll do what it takes to resolve your problem. It may be as simple as a wax removal. Donegal Hearing Clinic, Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Milltown Business Park, Buncrana. Call us on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Don your Irish dancing shoes and head for Foyleside Shopping Centre this St. Patrick's Day. We'll be painting the town green with great fun for all the family. Music, dancing, face painting, balloon modelling and even green candy floss. Catch the famous parade through the city before more entertainment awaits this St. Patrick's Day at Foyleside Shopping Centre.
Treat your mum for Mother's Day with a voucher for the Radisson Blue Hotel, Letterkenny. Or treat her to a 4-course lunch in the newly refurbished Poets Corner restaurant. Available for only $32.95 per person. Kids menu also available. To book, call the Radisson Blue Hotel, Letterkenny on 074 91 94444.
It's St. Patrick's Week at Salento Strabane, and that means euro for pound at Salento. But even more importantly, it's Mother's Day on Sunday. So thank your mum with something special from Salento. And thank St. Patrick for euro for pound. Salento Strabane. Look good, feel great.
All right, you welcome back to the programme. We welcome onto it now Tony Canavan, CEO of the Celta Group. Good morning, Tony. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning, Greg.
I suppose before we talk about what people should try and avoid over the weekend and to keep ourselves safe, I suppose, and to keep pressure off the hospitals, emergency departments continue to be extremely busy. In fact, I think Letterkenny University Hospital had record numbers of people sick enough to need a bed but not able to access one as they struggled to find spaces and packages and people to discharge people well enough to be discharged out of the hospital. So we're not in the depths of winter as such. I'm not saying there aren't similar challenges. So why are we seeing mid-March record situations at Letterkenny University Hospital as an example?
Yeah, it's very difficult, I suppose, to pinpoint any one exact reason. So in general, I think it's reasonable to assume that there are a number of things going on in the background. If we look across all of last year, Letterkenny University Hospital had more attendances at the emergency department than they had in any previous year. So there was record levels of attendance, and they reflect an upward trend, an increase in the number of people attending every single day. And then if we look specifically at this week in Letterkenny, we can see again that the numbers are particularly high. You referred to a record number. We had 195 attendances at Letterkenny University Hospital on Tuesday this week. So that's the highest ever attendance on a single day. And then out of that, of course, a number of those people, usually somewhere around 25% of those attendances, those people will require admission into a hospital bed. So we are seeing then, as a result of that, an increase in the numbers of patients awaiting admission on trolleys. And there's a number of things going on in the background. We certainly do have the impact of respiratory illnesses within the population. We still have some impact, but not a very significant impact of COVID-19 within the hospital and within the community as well. And I think what we're seeing as well is an ongoing demand for hospital care after COVID has ended. So there are still significant numbers of people attending now that maybe had deferred care throughout the COVID period.
I may have slightly conflated figures. It wasn't very clear, so I appreciate you so politely correcting that, because it is important to get it correct. Tony, how big of an issue is getting people out of the hospital? Step-down care, families able to take someone home, maybe spaces in other care settings like nursing homes, for an example. Is that a particular challenge?
It is certainly, and I think that's a really good question and a good way to look at this problem. This isn't just an issue of Letterkenny University Hospital or indeed any hospital being under pressure. This is a question of the health system overall being under pressure. So if you take your GP, most GPs will tell you about the difficulties they have and the numbers of patients that are attending and trying to make sure that they're seen in a timely way, but also all of the services that are available within the community, including long-term care or home supports, very important health services, but they are also under pressure for a variety of reasons. Some of that is to do with the availability of people, so being able to recruit staff to work in long-term care facilities, or being able to recruit staff to work as home support workers. Those are putting considerable pressure on the broader health services, and that then feeds back into a problem that we see in the hospitals.
The problem is also, though, the same pressures that you talk of are kind of the solutions to ease pressure on the ED. It is a particularly busy weekend, the St. Patrick's Day long weekend. Obviously, we want people to stay safe and avoid accidental injury as much as is possible. People will still get sick. The alternatives are those under pressure GPs, perhaps not so much over the weekend. It's going to be out of hours services now, Doc, in our case. Also under pressure. They're probably going to have a record weekend for all we know, but they're the solutions to try and avoid people making unnecessary trips to the ED, and I suppose therein lies the complexity of this problem.
Absolutely. Now, what I would say is that while there is a growing pressure on our health services generally, and including in the hospital, we have also been investing quite significantly over the last couple of years, and again this year, in both the hospital services and the broader community-based health services, and that is helping the overall situation. It isn't solving the problem, but it is helping to ease the pressure somewhat. You're absolutely right that we need to have as much support in the community so that patients can be discharged efficiently. So when they're ready to go home or when they're ready to progress on to the next phase of their care, it's important that happens as quickly as possible. And so we work very closely. The hospital services and the community services and the GP services throughout Donegal and across the Northwest work very closely together to try and make sure that happens as best we can.
Can you see in the future, and if so, how far into the future, whereby, look, I presume acute hospitals are designed to operate close to full capacity all of the time, really, because otherwise it'd be a waste of resources. But when do you imagine a time whereby we won't see this level of pressure, that we won't be firefighting all these individual problems? You can imagine, and I'm sure, Tony, what it must be like within that hospital, trying to join everything up to get someone out who can get out and to free that space to get someone in. Not panic, sorry, that's the wrong word, but the difficulty that presents, but at the same time trying to offer world-class care to people as well. So do you see a time in the future, and if so, when, back to the start of the question, when we won't be talking about this level of excess pressure on our health service?
I suppose the short answer to that is I do. I put a lot of faith in the 10-year strategy that has been designed for our health services, which is called Sláinte Care. So that was launched in 2017. Its implementation probably got stalled for a couple of years during COVID and is getting back on track now, and it's got a number of years yet to run. But the basic premise of Sláinte Care is that we try and provide the correct care for people in the correct location by the right people. And what we know is that there are a lot of people today at Letterkenny University Hospital and every hospital across the country. We know that there are people in there that could receive appropriate care in a different setting, assuming that the resources were in place to look after them. We know, for example, that general practitioners, if we have them properly resourced, can look after a broader range of the needs of the population of County Donegal. And we know that providing additional support, such as therapy supports and homes care supports and long-term care supports in the community, all will be part of that picture. We have a growing population and we have an aging population, so it's not a fixed target. As the years go by, the task gets more stringent. But I would say that I am optimistic that if we continue on the path that we are currently of implementing Sláinte Care, that over the coming years we will continue to see things improve, and that is the long-term solution for us.
All right. Finally, Tony, what is your message to the public as we head into this long weekend?
Well, I suppose what I would like to say is that, for people in Donegal, the health services are your health services, and so our ask is that you help us to make sure that those health services are available to the people that need them most this weekend. And the way to do that is to, if you have a genuine emergency, please come into an emergency department and come into the emergency department at Letterkenny University Hospital, where you will receive proper care and support. However, if you don't have a genuine emergency, please consider the alternatives, and there are lots of them, including your general practitioner, perhaps attending or getting some advice from your local pharmacist, or even engaging with the HSE website under the weather.ie. And we would ask people to consider all of those alternatives if they don't have a genuine emergency, in the interest of protecting their own health services.
Okay, have a good weekend, Tony. Thanks for your time. Take care.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye-bye. Okay. Now, there are a couple of other issues, health-related, that in terms of the health centre in Dunfanaghy and what have you, that at the short notice we gave Tony to come on and talk about the weekend, that he didn't have answers to that, but I believe we've a commitment to get answers to those questions. So it's not that they weren't asked for any particular reason, other than we'll get the answers for you, and Tony and his team can go off and get them for us so we can get concrete answers for you. A bit of breaking news from the world of showbiz. RTE has announced that broadcaster Ryan Tubridy is to step down from the Late Late Show at the end of the season. What do you think about that? Lots of people may not be too upset, others might. Let us know what you think. Who do you think should replace Ryan Tubridy? He's going at the end of this season. Answers on a postcard to 086 60 25,000. Who would you like to see step into those shoes? There haven't been too many, haven't there? Gay Byrne, Jerry Ryan was in it? Well, no, he didn't. Pat Kenny was, certainly. Pat Kenny and then Ryan. Is that it? So there was all this talk about Jerry Ryan having a go. I don't think he ever did. There was Gay Byrne, then Pat Kenny, then Ryan Tubridy. Is that right? Was there anyone in between? Right, who... He did sense, right, okay. Who would you like to see replace Ryan Tubridy? He's gone from the Late Late Show. Wonder what else he's going to be doing. All right, okay, we do have to take a break. I'm backed up a little bit. Stay right where you are.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Do you have training requirements within your company? SafeTech are running a number of part-funded programs, including electro and butt fusion welding, first aid, water hygiene, company safety officer, confined spaces, food hygiene, construction site supervisor, various plant UK construction cards, and much more. Contact SafeTech today on safetech.ie.
Wake up, wake up. It's Mattress Madness at Easy Living Furniture, with up to 50% off all mattresses, pillows and mattress protectors. With 0% interest-free finance available, now is the perfect time to gift yourself a better night's sleep with the mattress of your dreams. Speak to one of our sleep specialists today. Massive mattress sale now on, with all mattresses reduced in Easy Living Furniture. Presently retail park or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go, whoa!
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money. Woo!
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place Thursday, 6th of April on the 9 till noon show.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Ooh. Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a European city break this summer? Discover the beautiful cities of Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. 6 flights a week for summer 2023. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okie doke, let's see. A mostly wet and windy, cloudy start. It's not really. It's a mostly wet and cloudy start today with outbreaks of rain clearing northeastwards through the morning. Sunny spells will follow, along with scattered showers, some heavy with thunderstorms and hail possible later in the afternoon and evening. Mild, and it felt mild stepping out of the house this morning. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees and moderate to fresh south to southwest winds easing later. So that news, RTE have revealed that Ryan Tubridy stepping down from presenting the Late Late Show at the end of this season. We're asking you, who would you like to see step in his place? Now, just a couple of requests here. Happy birthday to James Barrett in Dunlow from all the Portnew gang. Greg, can you give a mention to our coffee morning in Bric-a-Brac in Glenvar Old School on St. Patrick's Day tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock onwards? It's in aid of small animal welfare. Your support would be greatly appreciated. So get along to the Glenvar Old School on St. Patrick's Day morning, before the parades perhaps, for a coffee morning. Starts at 11. Hi, could you please wish Francis Carlin, Castlefin, a happy 60th birthday. Lots of love from grandsons Jaden, Ben and Noah. Just to let you know as well, by the way, that the Wellness Cafe is on this morning in Stranora, in the Hatter Cafe in Stranora, of course, runs until 12 noon. So if you are in the Ballabafay Stranora area or passing through, call into the Hatter's Cafe in Stranora until 12 noon. The Wellness Cafe is hosting its event in there. You can just go in and have a cup of coffee and see what's going on. Right, some of you already suggesting who could replace Ryan Tubridy. Sarah McInerney would be great at the job. She actually has a personality. I've seen a couple of interviews or heard interviews that she's done. How would she do in sort of, it's like 90%, it's 90% light and fluffy, isn't it? Or is it? I don't know. I don't watch it. A caller says it would be nice to see someone outside RTE get the job. Stop it being a closed shop. I doubt that very much. Rick O'Shea says, a listener, what about Dahi to replace Ryan Tubridy? I don't know. I don't dislike Dahi, but it'd be very cheesy, wouldn't it? I recommend a couple of people take the hand saying I should do it. All right, good stuff. He's leaving because Tommy Tiernan show's more popular. He'll be the next host. Yeah, right, okay. I'd like to see Tommy Tiernan replace Tubridy. He'd shake things up. Won't miss Tubridy and his fake laugh and same friends and sorry guests. I don't think you're going to see a change of guests, by the way. He doesn't book them. There's a team book them. So don't replace Ryan Tubridy. Just scrap the Late Late's another suggestion. Not bad. What about a show like Marty Morrison, or what's his name? Marty Morrison. He's what about his variety show that he's taking to Letterkenny at the end of the month? Something like that might be more fun. News on the way.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Wake up, wake up. It's Mattress Madness at Easy Living Furniture with up to 50% off all mattresses, pillows and mattress protectors. With 0% interest-free finance available, now is the perfect time to gift yourself a better night's sleep with the mattress of your dreams. Speak to one of our sleep specialists today. Massive mattress sale now on, with all mattresses reduced in Easy Living Furniture. Presently retail park or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Starting a new chapter can be the most thrilling thing in the world. And the new all-electric Audi Q8 e-tron range marks the start of something even more exciting. Where progress is a matter of character. Where an idea stretches as far as you wish to go with the range to get you there. And where charging times are reduced, freeing you up for even more adventures. Discover the fully electric Audi Q8 e-tron range at your nearest Audi dealer.
Are you building, moving or renovating in 2023? Think Irwin's Expert Electrical for all your home appliances, big and small. With all the top brands including Bosch, Samsung, LG, Neff and more. Secure your products now with a deposit until you're ready. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
the perfect Mother's Day gift to see the one and only Tom Jones in Belfast. Join us as Highland Radio hit the road to see the timeless legend as he headlines Belsonic 2023, Friday 16th of June. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast in the 4-star Clayton Hotel Belfast and your standing ticket to the outdoor event. Contact us today on 074 9125,000 to see Tom Jones at Ormo Park, Belfast, Friday 16th of June.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, we're going to be going around seeing what's happening around the region on St. Patrick's Day. Donna's going to join us as well, talking about her new single, all that and much more besides. But first at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The CEO of the Celta Group is urging people to avoid emergency departments if possible over the holiday weekend to ensure that people experiencing genuine emergencies can get the treatment they need. Tony Canavan was speaking to Greg on the 9 till Noon Show this morning in a week which saw a record 194 people attend the ED in Letterkenny over one 24-hour period. Donegal Deputy Joe McHugh says he believes regulations are being used to attack the defective concrete block redress scheme. On the 9 till Noon Show this morning, Deputy McHugh said he's not asking affected homeowners to downsize. He says he believes officials are using housing foundations as a way to avoid technical rebuilds. President Michael T. Higgins has condemned racism in his annual St. Patrick's Day message. He also addressed the war in Ukraine, the climate crisis, global hunger and poverty. President Higgins said, as a country, we must stand in solidarity with all those across the globe who are vulnerable and in need. A West Donegal councillor says tourism must be sustainable, managed and limited for the benefit of all. Councillor Michael Cullenberg Asbach says while he welcomes a focus on tourism in the west of the county, property prices, homelessness, the Irish language and the environment are being negatively impacted. He's calling for a conversation on how best to capitalise on tourism while retaining local identity. It's hoped that substantial works will take place shortly in Buncrana on the shore walk to Father Hegarty's grave. Donegal County Council is seeking €80,000 from the Community Recognition Fund to be spent on resurfacing and drainage works, as well as the provision of accessible toilets there. And Letterkenny Municipal District has been told that if disabled parking bays don't meet the needs of the people who use them, then they shouldn't be placed at that location. Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh was speaking after he moved a motion asking that a dropped curb be provided at a disabled bay on Lower Main Street in Letterkenny. However, he was told if a dropped curb were provided there, it would endanger entrances to buildings in the vicinity. He says it's clear it needs to be moved. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Okay, Donald, thank you very much indeed.
Celebrate St. Patrick's Day with some of Ireland's favourite brands and Spar's latest Red Value offers. Red Hot right now, Guinness Draft Cans 8-pack only €13.59. Cato Crisps Cheese and Onion 6-pack half price, and Coca-Cola regular 6-pack cans and Diet and Zero 8-pack cans only €5. That's amazing Red Value at Spar. Offers available from March 15th to 19th at participating stores while stocks last. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
All right, lots of you texting in as about who could replace Ryan Tubridy on the Late Late Show. He has announced he's stepping down at the end of this season. How about Gregory? How about Gregory Hughes? He's too honest. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know you're joking, but I appreciate the last comment because that's what I try and be. Replace the Late Late Show with Dahi O'Shea, says another. Tommy Tiernan, but he may rattle too much of the establishment. I don't know. I don't think you can't go on RTE and rattle the establishment when it's their establishment. It's their house, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't think that could happen. Nicky Byrne for the Late Show. He's married into Fianna Fáil, so he's an ideal fit for RTE. Oh, it started off so well. I thought that was a genuine suggestion. Our listeners are so clever and switched on, aren't they? What about Greg presenting the Late Late Show? You'd be fantastic. I wouldn't last very long, to be honest with you. Jackie Healy-Rae would be a good man to have on TV, would have a bit of common sense about him. It would be interesting. I'm not sure how he'd play to the wider audience. But anyway, keep your suggestions coming in because it is going to be a conversation piece. Look, there's an awful lot of serious stuff happening across the world. We've been talking about much of it today. And then, people say, well, who cares? Well, it's just like talking about the weather, isn't it? It is an institution, the Late Late Show. Presenters do not change very often. And lots of people, even though you would feel sometimes from people texting into this show, it's no one that listens to this programme, but I'm sure many of you who do listen to this tune in religiously to the Late Late Show and fair play. So who do you want to see replace Ryan Tubridy. I'm struggling to come up with any suggestions myself because some of the runners and riders I don't really know well enough to have an opinion in terms of having watched or heard them, and others I have issues because of some of the things they've said in the past. But anyway, let's go to some of your comments. Donna's going to be joining us soon, by the way, to talk about her new track. As it relates to our conversation with Professor Paul, great to have the new defective block research. Thank you all for all involved. It doesn't change the situation though. There are countless families in Ireland, families faced by this crisis, and our government doing very little to support them. This research just backs up what we know. This situation is no fault of homeowners. They need equity with those in Dublin who were compensated, and rightly so. Indeed, and I recognise that, and I hope you understood when I was saying it, that it doesn't really progress things for people. It doesn't make this morning any better for those waking up in these houses. That being said, though, what it might do in the long term, it's very hard to ignore. It's all right having an opinion and, saying something, right? And that's fine, having an opinion. It's another matter having a study by eminent professionals, peer-reviewed, a document. That's different. That's worth waiting for. That's what's there now. So we'll see how that affects things going forward. Perhaps the money going towards regeneration in Donegal should begin with people's homes. Millions coming to Donna. Again, our house is not a priority, even if it's different funding streams. Should we not prioritise in this emergency situation where people's homes crumbling and people are at huge risk of physical and mental harm? It used to be years ago that a person could build their own home themselves and do it bit by bit as he had the money, but it's not like that anymore. You have to have a registered builder, and that means that you have to have the money before they start. I think it would be better if the government let the people do the work themselves. Direct labour, is it really? Is that what you're talking about? Can you not do that anymore? Are you on about maybe laying the blocks yourselves? I don't know. I didn't know that you had to have a registered builder to do that, so you can't do, as you say, sort of site manage yourself, direct labour. I don't know. My sporting wish for St Patrick's weekend is a win for both our women's and men's team to give them both a chance of survival in Division 1, and that our walking wounded rugby players can overcome the English challenge and win only their 4th Grand Slam and the first on home soil. It would be a sickener after everything, and that win over Scotland was astonishing, really, particularly in the second half, to absorb all the injuries and challenges and yet to beat a very, very good team with something to spare. England kind of a bogey team, are they? I don't know. Anyway, it's going to be interesting. It's a great weekend of sport, no doubt. Can someone make any recommendations for places of interest in Letterkenny or the Letterkenny area for someone visiting from New York City today? Well, listen, what road do you want to go out? Are you talking? I'd go out. I can't think off the top of my head the names of these places now because I don't want to make a mistake and sound silly. But there's some beautiful, beautiful sites. Take them to what they see in Hollywood. We've got some spectacular. Head out towards Dunlow. There's some amazing sights and scenery out there. If you have access to a vehicle, I'm kind of presuming you do. I don't know. Take them. Where could you go? On Green On. Everywhere. Just drive. I think there's so much. Give us some suggestions. If you had people over from New York City, where would you be taking them? Greg, I'm tired listening to you when you mentioned Donegal has the least disposable income in the country. Why? It's the choice of most people to take up part-time work. They don't want to lose their benefits, and that's a fact. Well, you see, it's not a fact, really, because disposable income and the way it's calculated is someone's entire income. So if it's part-time work and benefits, as you've described them, all of that, rental, whatever it might be, all of that, their income is put together. Then their outgoings, how much they have to pay in a mortgage or rent, whatever it might be, and other bills that you have to pay. What is left is your disposable income. Now, it doesn't matter if your money's coming in from a private work, it doesn't matter if it's welfare, or if it doesn't matter if it's a combination of the two. Regardless of that, we're in compared to other counties, that's the position we are in. So I understand what you're saying, but the stats don't lie. It's all income combined versus outgoings and what people have left. We have the smallest amount of money available at the end of the year. I appreciate you texting in, by the way. I think the public should know it's not just the mainstream politicians that get a free trip away on St Patrick's Day. Also county councillors, county managers and selected members of county management staff. The whole thing should be scrapped and the representations left to our ambassadors in those countries to represent us. The business excuse for it is a cop-out. Thus, our leaders should be present at Dublin's parade on the 17th of March. That's a very good point. We have ambassadors in most of these countries and teams that work with them. They probably interact with these other people on a day-to-day basis. Charge them with doing it. Why is St. Patrick's message of Christian love and moral values not mentioned in these discussions and government antics? Well, you've mentioned it there. We have done the history of St. Patrick on the show a number of occasions. I can't believe Highland's letting your panel ramble on given the poverty in Donegal, but that was all addressed as part of that wider conversation. I hope you understand. Another, I hope these politicians tell those countries the truth about our wee country, of how it's nearly impossible to live and how our very well educated are leaving in droves because they don't ever have a hope of owning a home and spending at least half their wages in rent. Unfortunately, that reality, they can't paint it up whatever way they want. Trickle-down economics is a load of you-know-what, says a listener. Sell the country is exactly what these politicians are doing. Really annoyed listening to these capitalists amid the people in the poorest county in Ireland. Another, the politicians are on a junket. How can you call Ireland a great country with thousands sleeping on the street? It is a great country, okay? I believe Ireland is a great country, and it's a great country because of its people. It might not necessarily be a great country because of some of the services, or it might not be a great country because of some of the decisions that are made, but we are a great people. We're a great country. We look out for each other. Look at what happens when there's a crisis in an area, or a problem, or a death. Look what we do, how we rally around people, how we support each other. Look how welcoming we are. For the most part, we are an amazing country, an amazing people, unmatched, unrivaled anywhere, I believe. I understand what you're saying. Maybe there are elements of the country that aren't great, but that doesn't take away from who we are, does it? Good morning, Greg, says a listener. Of course they welcome our politicians on St. Patrick's Day. Look at the amount of money these countries make off our back on that day. Whatever business they get won't affect or make any difference to the common man or woman. Richer, it's all for hobnobs, it's a junket and always has been. I just think if we're rich, if there's money coming into the country, if there's big deals being done, when is it going to impact the common person as that person has described them? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be happening at the moment.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
At Centra, we have great offers to celebrate Mother's Day this Sunday. Like inspired by Centra Fresh Irish Angus Sirloin Steaks 440 gram, only €8. Cadbury Milk Tray 360 gram, only $6.35. And until Sunday, Santa Rita 120 selected range, €8 each. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day. Enjoy sensibly.
Donegal farmland in very short supply. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Donegal land jumps in price, but it's hard to come by, with supply down by half. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we publish a 72-page guide to agricultural land prices across Ireland. We reveal why the average price of farmland is up nationwide and who's buying the land.
Don't miss your free land price report worth €15 inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Discover full-time and part-time courses from level 2 to master's degree at the College of Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise. CAFRE, Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college, with campuses at Greenmount, Antrim, Loughery, Cookstown and Enniskillen. Study a course in food, agriculture, horticulture, equine, floristry, veterinary nursing, land-based engineering or business. Make a difference. Book now to attend an open day from Tuesday 21st to Saturday 25th of March. For event information, visit cafre.ac.uk.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 13 minutes past 11. Now delighted to welcome onto the programme Donna. Hiya Donna, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Greg, it is literally good to see you. We've never done a Zoom before.
No, isn't it great the way we can have you in the studio, in our homes, via this. And don't forget, people, you can watch at home on YouTube and also on Facebook and on our website. How are you keeping, Donna?
I'm keeping great, thank goodness. Well, everybody's got these colds at the minute. I got it, I gave it to Damien. He gave it back to me because he says he's very generous.
He gave you a
But I'm
second crack.
fine.
He gave you a second crack at the whip. We're talking in the context of your new track, "Light the Fire," written by you. Why this song? Why now? I mean, obviously, it'll all make sense as you explain. But talk to me about "Light the Fire," why you wrote it, and of course, it will make sense as to when you released it.
Well, it was actually suggested to me by my late brother-in-law, Father Kevin Scallon. It's that long ago, Greg, that I can't actually remember exactly when, but it was certainly over 10 years ago. And he said that we need a new hymn for St. Patrick, something I'd never thought about, you know. And he said, because St. Patrick is not for a past generation. He said he's for today, and he's for everyone. Like we know we own him in Ireland, but he's for everyone throughout the world, his messages. And we were going through a lot at the time, Greg, and never got a word or a note, nothing. And then about 5 or 6 years later, we were driving to Dublin, and it was an Easter Sunday, I remember that. And suddenly, the missing bit, 90% of the car of the song came, 90%. But I always felt there was something just missing. And it was another, 5 or 6 years. Actually, it was the end of January this year. And we had been to visit the St. Patrick's Centre in Downpatrick. I don't know have you ever been over that?
No, I haven't been there, but I've spoken to people who have.
Oh, Greg, it's really worth a visit. And they were opening a new audio-visual upgraded. It's a beautiful centre in Downpatrick. It's just at the back of the church yard where St. Patrick, St. Bridget and St. Columba are buried in the one grave in the Church of Ireland churchyard. And this centre is stunning and beautiful restaurant and gift shop and everything. But this audio-visual, we got the missing bit at the end of January, and we were over there having lunch, and Damien mentioned it to the director of it, and he said, if you ever get it finished, we'd love it to launch it with our new audiovisual thing on the 13th of March. So I thought, there's no way. You know how long it takes to get in a studio and get musicians. And we routined it on the 1st of February, and we were finished by 2 weeks later. It was done. And we launched it there. And now Father Gibbons in Knock has asked me to launch it tomorrow in the St. Patrick's Day Mass. So it's moving that fast, Greg. I can't believe it after all those years.
How important is that to you? And I suppose the reception it's receiving from, the people that matter. I mean, everyone matters, but you understand, to get that kind of, demand and then for them to be so happy with the work that you're doing, and then for it to be part of the celebrations in Knock, it must feel very nice.
I'm kind of stunned. I don't know how these things move so fast. I guess it's the age we're in, but people videoed the performance in Downpatrick, and I'm getting requests from America for interviews and from Toronto, and it just seems to spread like wildfire. I'm kind of in awe, actually, because I'm not an expert on St. Patrick. I mean, he's our patron saint, and you grow up with a devotion to St. Patrick, but for most people, St. Patrick is, especially shamrocks, snakes, and green. But the person, I didn't know the person.
But we'll get to that, because I think what you talk of about the snakes, like I remember growing up, right? We were told all about that and in school, and the significance of the shamrock and what have you. I just wonder, is that happening as much anymore? And we've had a couple of texts in, and I think it's quite an interesting question to put you. For a lot of people now, this day is a day off work. It's a day to go out for a few drinks. It's a day to go out with your family and do parades, which is lovely, don't get me wrong. But it's a day where we have the annual controversy about TDs flying around the world, and what they're talking about is, no, we're going to get business back in, and business and money and trickle down and all that kind of stuff. And wherein all of that is talking about our patron saint, St. Patrick, what he means, maybe the religious element of it all. Is that being lost? Has that been lost? Is that something that would concern you, Donna?
Well, I think you're right, Greg. It's a bit like Christmas, isn't it? It's holding on to why is it called Christmas and what's Christmas about. We can get so caught up in the, well, you could call it materialistic if you want, but certainly that kind of anything but the real essence of what it's about. And I'm not saying for everybody, but for a lot of people it is. And at St. Patrick's Day, yeah, I think his message can get lost in the middle of it all. And he is very relevant for today. As I say, I'm learning myself, Greg. I suddenly thought after we'd recorded it, and cheapers, he was trafficked. He was a victim of human trafficking. He was sold into slavery. He lived in abject poverty. He escaped. But then in a dream, he heard the voice. Now, this I did know. He heard the voice of the people of Ireland calling them to come back. And they were very dark days. There was human sacrifice. There was oppression. There was poverty among the people. And he came back. But when he lit the fire on Slane, the king on Tara was the only one who was supposed to light the Paschal, the Easter fire, or the Paschal fire, as we now call it. He was the only one who could light it first. That was a sign of his power. And of course, under threat of death, Patrick lit that fire. But it wasn't just a fire. It was a fire of love. He lit a fire of love and of faith and of hope for the people. And it converted the king, it converted this country, and it's gone out from this country. Do you know, it's an amazing human story.
And not necessarily one that is relevant only to Ireland or only to a country. It's a story that can translate to an individual, a nation, a different nation, a world.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And also, I didn't know either. You want to go to that centre, it's absolutely amazing. He was the first Christian church ever built in Ireland. And he built it in Saul, which is only like 6 or 7, I don't even know exactly, but very close to Downpatrick. So he started his mission and he died and was buried in Downpatrick, or he's buried in Downpatrick. Mm-hmm. But his is the first written history ever pen to paper in Ireland, in our history, was the Confessions of St. Patrick.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
I think someone needs to light a fire in this day and age. I think just us as individuals, we're so divided now. We're divided as nations. The world's divided. You know, we need a reset. I don't know what it is or how to describe it, but we are going to destroy ourselves if we're not careful. We're destroying ourselves in communities. We're destroying ourselves in countries and globally. Such is the risk that's what the risk nuclear brings. And it seems, it's China and the Americans, American and Russia, and so on and so forth, and Europe, yes. Where someone needs to light the fire on the South or North Pole or something, because we are heading in a very dangerous direction as in humanity terms, not individuals, but humanity is in a very dark spot at the moment, I think, Donna.
Well, Greg, thank you for actually putting in words what I couldn't have put in words. But you're right. There is a lot of people are fearful, and there is a sense of wanting to get out of this kind of dark place we're in. And I've been thinking a lot about that too, because not knowing so much about the person or his story of Patrick, when he lit that fire, he brought together all the people of this country, and then went out to other countries. But people have said to me, "Why did you release it now?" Maybe it was meant for now. Maybe it was meant for now. But you can't light the fire unless you light the flame in your own heart first. You've got to be at peace in your own heart first. And for me, I find that peace in the faith and the hope and the love that he lit that fire with. That's where I find my peace. Mm-hmm. And I hope that this song will bring a sense of peace to people who hear it.
Other than planting the seed and the encouragement, and particularly, I suppose, as things accelerated from that car journey on Easter Sunday, what role do you think Father Kevin has played in all of this?
Oh, I've just felt his presence so much. He was a very laid back. I remember somebody saying, a young girl said to me once, because we recorded rosaries together, which have gone all over the world. She said, I love his voice. When I hear his voice, I imagine in a Hawaiian shirt and what do you call those things you put around their neck? Leah or something. She said, I just picture him like he was so laid back and he was so calm and he was very wise and a wonderful sense of humor. And I picture him in my mind just smiling because, on the record it's very simply done. We had 3 outstanding traditional musicians, wonderful guitarist Martin McAllister, and Joanna Doran, who, her fiddle playing is inspired. And the double bass was Martin Oak, Martin's son. And we had a wonderful young singer, Maria Fox, my brother Jerry, and we had the Reverend Adrian Dorian from the Church of Ireland, who's the voice of St. Patrick, and he sang on it. And then with John McGrath, who was born in Kenya and adopted by a family in Downpatrick. They were brought to me. I didn't handpick them, but I thought how beautiful that John represented bringing the world back, because we were just in Kenya, and the Irish missionaries there, oh my goodness, the incredible work they did in education and caring for the poor. They're amazing. And then we had this choir from East Belfast. And again, they were found by Martina Purdy. Do you remember Martina Purdy? She was the chief political correspondent for the BBC.
The name is incredibly familiar. Yes, I was thinking as you said it, the name sounded familiar.
Brilliant woman. She had a call at the top of her profession to enter the convent in Belfast. She entered a convent of adoration at the peak of her career. And at the same time, a barrister called Elaine Kelly had the same kind of calling. They didn't know each other. They both joined the convent at the same time. They were there for 5 years, very happy, going for their final vows. And the convent was closed because it wasn't thought viable moving forward. So they are now permanently working with the St. Patrick's Centre. 2 brilliant women.
Wow, okay.
And it was Martina who found this choir. And these young men, 17 of them, from about 8 years up to about 15. Well, their parish priest came down, the gorgeous church in East Belfast called St. Peter's. And he said, we're so glad that these boys are here because they are from not a, let's say East Belfast would have a reputation. And he said, for these boys to be recognised for their talent, not pointed out for where they're from. Hard times in East Belfast, just up from the Divis Flats. I said, Father, I'm from the Cregan and the Bogside Flats. You don't have to explain.
Well, listen,
how you feel.
We can't tease our listeners any longer, Donna. We're going to have to let them hear the song "Light the Fire," written and recorded by Donna. It's a overnight kind of single that's been 10 years in the making, kind of a thing. With the speed
exactly
things
right.
have moved on. Donna, it's been lovely speaking to you. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy. You're going to be in Knock, are you? I'm
singing this at the St. Patrick's Day Mass.
Lovely. Okay, that's going to be lovely for you.
Actually, very quickly, I'll tell you, I sent it to Sean,
Sean Doherty, yes,
illustrious predecessor there, and he loves it, and he's going to be sharing it. We keep in touch, and love to all the people who love him so much.
Well, that's quite an endorsement, isn't it, from Sean? Okay, thank you so much, Donna. Take care of yourself. It's been lovely having you on the programme, and here is her song that we've just been talking about.
I am Patrick, a sinner. As I arise today, may God's strength lead me. May God's might uphold me, and God's wisdom guide me.
Light the flame in my heart once again. Light the flame in my heart once again. And the fire will burn
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
If you're counting down to St. Patrick's Day, at Screwfix, we're here to help. We've got everything you need to get your job done. Plus, great deals worth celebrating. From savings on power tools, landscaping, plumbing and security, to low prices on screws and fixings. So you don't want to miss out. Hurry, deals end Friday. Shop online at screwfix.ie or in over 30 stores. Screwfix, the choice of champions.
There was a monster who lived in the trees, in the house that would rattle and shake in the breeze. It was cold and small, with a terrible leak that would drip on her head and her hands and her beak. She needed it fixed and all in one batch, because she had an egg that was ready to hatch. So she went to the credit union for a renovation loan and got new windows, insulation, and extended her home. Monster loans from the credit union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by the Chief Executive of Harris Tweed Authority, Lorna McCauley, and the overall winner of the Donegal Local Enterprise Office Student Enterprise Programme for 2023, Matthias Ulisch. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. Are you a senior manager in the private sector looking to reinforce your leadership skills? ATU are offering a Level 9 Executive MBS in Leadership and Innovation based around action learning starting late April. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 today or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
Get ready for the all-new Pulse venue with state-of-the-art sound and light and all-new decor. Reopening Saturday 18th of March with the Whistling Donkeys. Tickets on sale now. See Pulse Letterkenny on Facebook for updates.
Okay, we're going to talk about St. Patrick's Day now and events that are coming up around the region. But first, we're going to get an insight as to what's going to happen in the White House. Sean McKiernan is political commentator and joins us now. Hiya, Sean.
Hello, Greg, and hello to all your listeners in County Donegal.
And a happy St. Patrick's Day to you. The green tie, a lovely touch. I hope that was specifically for us. Thank you very much indeed. Right, so much is made of this access, this unique access we have. It is important. It's not insignificant. The US is a global power. It's easy to forget that in the arguments about footprints and climate damage in terms of us flying out there. So what happens then traditionally, Sean?
Well, I suppose it is a tradition and a ceremony that has waxed and waned over the years. It started in 1952. We had an ambassador called John Joseph Hearn, and he had the inspired idea to call the White House with some shamrock. President Truman was then the president. He wasn't around, but he sent a very warm letter of thanks to both Ambassador Hearn and to President Sean T. O'Kelly. The following year, ceremony took place with the ambassador and with the new president, Dwight Eisenhower. In 1956, John A. Costello was our first Taoiseach to visit and present the shamrock in person. And in 1959, it was President Sean T. O'Kelly himself who visited. As I said, it's waxed and waned over the years. On some occasions, ministers have been lucky enough to meet the president and hand over the shamrock. But it really turbocharged in the 1990s, if I can use that term, when Bill Clinton came into office. Amongst his ancestors were Cassidy's from the Fermanagh-Monaghan border near a village called Rosslea. And obviously, I'm assuming that helped his huge interest in the north, which is very well documented at this stage. We also had an ambassador, Dermot Gallagher, and this is also around the time that Albert Reynolds is Taoiseach. And Gallagher explained to Reynolds, and Reynolds grasped it, that, really the Taoiseach should be going every year, and it should be a meeting of equals. Clinton also expanded it to include leadership from the north, from both sides of the community. And I actually interviewed Bertie Ahern about this on Monday, and one thing he found very amusing was that what was happening then was the British government itself was trying to get in on the act, and the British Secretary of State for Northern Ireland very much wanted to be part of the festivities in DC on the day, and that's what's happened. And Bertie Ahern, in the interview he did with me, said he felt that was extremely helpful because these people mightn't be able to talk at home or mightn't be able to be seen to be talking at home. But in DC, they were away from the pressure of the North. They were also seeing the opportunities for the North in terms of economic investment, etc., if they could win peace.
Sean, do you believe this will wane again? We're going maybe through a wax stage at this stage because, if you look at the representation, I think it's, is it Senator Boyle that is the only first or second generation Irish person or Irish passport holder? I can't remember exactly what the criteria is that's in either house. So are we maybe going to see a dilution of the importance of things like this, that the importance of the Irish-American relationship from an American perspective? Because as you say, Bill Clinton and before him Nixon, it was on that side of the water that they saw the benefit of this. I just wonder, is that going to wane as we move forward?
I personally don't think so. It's a very good question, Greg, and thank you for it. I don't think so. There were fears about this in George W. Bush's time. And again, in the interview I did with Bertie, he conceded this was something he was personally worried about. The worries were unfounded. There mightn't have been the same raucous parties into the late hours in the White House. Bush was famously a recovered alcoholic, liked to go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock so that he wouldn't be tempted and reminded of his old life. But look, the tradition continued. A lot of concern when Trump took over. Again, the tradition continued. Look, Irish America is changing. The connection that most people have with Irish America or with Ireland in Irish America is now from the grandparents back. But having said that, there's still a very potent love of Irish history, Irish culture. And so whilst there might be some critics in the media, there might be some critics in the opposition benches about these trips and about the cost of them, I think it's essential that they continue and we continue to nurture those connections and nurture the fact that for an entire day, Washington shuts down essentially. For the Irish, you have events on Capitol Hill, you have the breakfast with the Vice President. The Capitol Hill lunch with the Speaker is one of only 3 occasions officially when the President will go to Capitol Hill. The other is when he is inaugurated every 4 years, and in non-inaugural years, then you have the State of the Union address, and finally then you have the Speaker's lunch for the Irish Taoiseach, which the President of America attends. Okay. So, look, we're there in the diary, and I think if we surrender it, things that leave the diary it can be hard to get them back in.
For sure. Listen, it's been a fascinating insight. Thank you, Sean. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. Sean McKernan there, who is a political commentator, just giving us a little bit of background to those visits. Right. There's more important matters than Leo Varadkar hobnobbing it in the United States, and that's what's happening in Donegal Town. Pádraig Kennedy is mayor of Donegal Town, and he joins us now. Pádraig, we spoke in the past about if or not whether there would or would not be... Oh, he can't hear me just yet, actually, so he is connecting on audio. You can hear me now, Pádraig, can't you? Yeah?
Good morning, Greg. Yeah.
Good morning. I was just saying in the preamble there, we talked about whether or not this would go ahead in Donegal Town. It is going ahead. What's happening tomorrow?
Absolutely. Good morning, Greg, and good morning to all your listeners. Well, great buzz and great excitement. We have a great committee involved, and we will have the Moyne Pipe Band and the Ardahi Pipe Band, Killatee Band, and a collection of the Donegal Town Band. And we have a load of the schools involved. I think we've nearly up on 900 walking in the parade, so that's a mass crowd. And then we have the selection of businesses and all involved as well. So it'll be a great day out. And then after the parade, then we have Irish dancing, and we have music on the Diamond, and loads of entertainment in all the bars around town and hotels and stuff. So it's a big weekend. And then, of course, then we have the rugby and Mother's Day. So we have to celebrate mothers as well. They did.
There's a few people listening. There's a few people listening. Just went, oh my Mother's Day. So well done. You're doing a public service. Now it starts at 3 p.m. sharp. No delays. If you're taking part in it, you're asked to assemble at 2 p.m. At the Bosco. Isn't that correct? It is assembled at the Bosco at 2 p.m. Kicks off at 3. Obviously, there's going to be traffic restrictions. There has to be. Bus Éireann, the collection point for them is where for passengers for any buses that are scheduled for the closure.
Oh, the collection for the local link and Bus Éireann are out at Supermax out at the Letterkenny Road there. So the collection will be there from 3 to 5 at Supermax for the local link and Bus Éireann.
Tell you they could make that permanent, but anyway, that's a conversation. For another day. We're not getting into that. This is about St. Patrick's Day. All right, good luck. Well done for getting it over the line between yourself and Jonathan and everyone else involved. Thanks very much, Pádraig.
Thank you, Greg.
Take care of yourself. I hope I can say hello now to Janet Dean. Are you there, Janet?
Yes, I'm here.
Good to have you with us. Okay, right. Duncanelli's first ever St. Patrick's Day parade. Are you having a laugh?
Well, it's not on St. Patrick's Day, but we're having a St. Patrick's parade on Saturday, the 18th, which is Sheila's Day.
Brilliant. And that's at 3 p.m.
So, yes, so we're gathering at 2:30 in the GAA for all the floats and vehicles, and everybody on foot will be gathering at the community hall.
And what can people look forward to, Janet?
Oh, I think the first time we've done something in Duncanelli, we've lost a lot in Duncanelli around businesses and things that can happen, and we've got a great enthusiasm around now getting things going locally, and everybody's been so enthusiastic about getting on board with it, not even just from our own area but other areas. So
and can I say, I think it's really clever to run it on the Saturday mid-afternoon as well, so you have your own audience, your own space, and not having to sort of, yourself with other things going on in maybe slightly bigger towns and villages.
Well, we definitely can't compete with Killybegs and Donegal, and everybody wants to go to those towns, which is great. I mean, what they put on is amazing.
Right, so there's going to be great parade, floats, bands, bikes, cars, entertainment going on in the town. And if you are taking part, you're asked to assemble at 2:30 p.m. at the Nivolton GEA car park. And it's the 18th of March this is taking place. That's Sheila's Day. Traditionally, this was celebrated the day after the feast of St. Patrick. Okay, so great day. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope the weather is good. I'm sure the clouds will part for you on Saturday. Thanks so much, Janet, and well done to everyone getting involved in organising it. Okay, we really appreciate you sharing the information with that. So Duncanelli is a lovely part of the world, by the way. Okay, we're going to continue previewing what's happening around the region after the messages.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th of March. Get your ticket now at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Laptop, check. Spanner, check. Screwdriver, check. A career built around me? Check. Bring your best self to work every day with exciting heavy vehicle mechanic apprenticeship opportunities with Bus Éireann and Dublin Bus. We are leading the way in sustainable public transport, moving from fossil fuel to zero emissions. Join our team and help keep Ireland on the road to greener journeys. Enjoy a career that's built around you. To apply, visit careers.buséireann.ie today.
New football boots for the season ahead at Brian McCormick Sports. Classic triple black boots in soft ground. Adidas Predator accuracy with improved texture across the strike zone in classic soft ground sole unit. Try the classic Puma King Top SG with a sleek soft leather in classic 6-stud for extra grip. Get back to training with all your essentials, shorts, socks, gum shield and kit bag. Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny. Click bmcsports.ie.
At Shannon Airport, we know what makes a dream holiday. It's not just the huge choice of destinations like Chicago, Paris, Newcastle, Naples, Barcelona and Porto. It's the hassle-free experience that makes getting through our airport a dream. So whatever dream holiday you're packing for, head for shannonairport.ie. Shannon Airport, making it easy.
Make new memories this Mother's Day with a gift from Pandora.
For limited time only, spend €109 or more and we'll treat you to a free bracelet. Celebrating the mums who raised us and the bonds that go beyond. For everyone who loves like a mum. Offer ends 19th of March. Available while stocks last in participating stores and at pandora.net. Terms and exclusions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect to 80 plus destinations worldwide, including Boston and New York. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
OK, so the rain is clearing now to leave sunny spells, along with scattered showers, some heavy and thunderstorms, with thunderstorms and hail possible later in the afternoon and evening. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees. Well, it's not St. Patrick's Day in and of itself in Glenties. They don't do things by half. It's a whole bloody festival. Good morning to you, Michael Brennan. How are you getting on?
How are you, Greg? How's things?
Good to have you with us. Right, talk to us about what's going on in Glenties over the next few days.
Well, like the last caller was saying there, it's hard to kind of get bands and get parades off the ground when Letterkenny and Donegal Town have such a big, and everybody wants to go to them. So we kind of decided to go just a different direction and have music instead, kind of a festival. So we managed to get the Tumbling Paddies for St. Patrick's Night in the Highlands. So they're kind of one of the biggest, I suppose.
That was a bit of a, I don't know how long ago you booked them.
I think it was last July, August
I'm
time.
thinking it has to be, yeah. All right, brilliant stuff.
That was a big one to get. And then on the Saturday, we have Jerry Guthrie and his band along with Sinead Black, one of your own colleagues there. So that's kind of filled out the weekend nicely. And then we just have local artists and that in the pubs. So we have like Kevin Laughlin and Mark O'Donnell there supporting the Tumbling Paddies, and guys like Conal McDavid and Sean McGee from Dunlow there's playing as well.
Cracking weekend of entertainment, it sounds like. Is it going to be packed, and rightly so. Fair play. That's for what people have to look forward to in Glenties. Have a lovely weekend, Michael. Stay safe. Thank you so much indeed. Where should we go next? We can go to Ryan Stewart, who is chair of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee in Buncrana. How are you getting on, Ryan?
All good, Greg. We're getting there. Nearly ready for the big show.
Right. Tell us what's happening tomorrow, or is it the weekend, or when, or what?
It's on tomorrow. The parade kicks off at 3 p.m. A lot of participants. We've 3 marching bands, loads and loads of different floats, and there's lots of stuff happening around the town for kids and things like that. We're expecting a really good turnout tomorrow. We're a new committee just formed there back in January, and just want to thank all the guys that's involved. Like they really know what they're doing, and we're going to get a really good show tomorrow. Just praying that the weather stays good for a couple of hours.
Don't worry about it. The weather will be fine. Don't worry about that. And sure, there's no such thing as bad weather, just the wrong clothes, Ryan.
Just bad clothes, that's it.
All right, okay. And all things begin. The parade starts from the Show Road at 3 p.m. All floats and participants are asked to gather at the Show Road from 2 p.m. The rest of you just stand back, find your spot and enjoy it.
Aye, and hopefully get into the town early, because the roads will all be closed around the town from 2:45. So it's actually Skullwara that everybody's assembling at for the participants.
Okay.
So set off from there, and we'll be hitting the main street for 3 o'clock.
Lovely stuff. Have a great day, Ryan. Enjoy it. Everyone going along to the Buncrana St. Patrick's Day Parade tomorrow from 3 p.m. Moville never disappoints either. Eamon McLaughlin's chair of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee in Moville, and also is St. Patrick himself, if you don't mind, double jobbing on the day. Eamon, Majin Way, how are you keeping?
100%, Greg. Good to hear from you again.
Great to have you on.
We're all set and we're all ready to go here. We're all ready to go.
Now, I think you told me that you, if I spoke to you in the past correctly, if I remember correctly, that you have special powers that you can guarantee there's no rain tomorrow.
I told you that last year,
yes.
that we had a special relationship with the Child of Prague, and that people should bring midstream to the Moville parade because the sun would be shining that brightly.
And how did it turn out?
It turned out 100%. And if you come into Moville now, on every doorstep, there's Child of Pragues. A couple of non-believers up at a wee umbrella beside the Child of Prague just in case, but I can assure you the weather will be great. But anyway, about the parade itself and the event, we're kicking off tonight with a traditional night to get in the mood. So we'll have traditional music in the Trollburn Bar at 9:30. And then tomorrow, our parade starts at 2:30. And we extend an open invitation to anybody that wants to participate just to assemble down at Key Street, and we'll direct you from there for the parade. But before the parade starts, we have music in the square, and indeed after the parade as well, with one of the best bands in Donegal, and that's the David Craig Band.
He'll put on a show. He'll put on a show for you. He and his band.
He certainly does.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
A very enthusiastic singer, a brilliant singer, great band, full of life and full of energy. Now, like Buncrana, we have a new committee this year as well, and they've really energised us. And I want to pay tribute to them and thank them for everything they've done to make tomorrow possible. As well as the parade itself, we have a bouncy castle in the Maville Square as well. So there'll be plenty of entertainment for young people to bounce about and jump about, because the theme of our parade really, St. Patrick's Day is a family day, and there has to be something for everybody. And it's a community as well, and it's great to see all the local organisations and many of the businesses come out and participate.
Brilliant.
In a day which gives us a sense of well-being, I feel.
And it's just lovely to stand amongst your fellow people outside, have a coat on, watch the band, have a boogie, jump on the bouncing castle if you're not too old, and just enjoy the day. Well done, Eamon.
That's what it's about. And you know this, Greg, a number of years ago I was talking to somebody, and he said when he was standing in Maville Square, and this was a local person, as he looked around, he said the amount of strangers that came along there for the day was absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant.
Could I just say as well, Greg, that we have a draw on the day called the Lucky Shamrock Draw.
Go on, be quick.
And that's very important for funding our parade, because we don't have any other source of income at all. And then on Saturday night, we have the presentation of prizes in the corner bar, and that'll take place at 9:30. Another thing about our parade as well, Greg, our judges, we have 4 churches in the town, and we have a representative from each of the church, the clergy from each in the church, that make up the main part of the judging panel.
Right.
And our other claim to fame is we're the most northerly parade in Ireland.
Well, we're going to have to double check that. I presume you're right, Eamon.
You Google the latitudes. You Google the latitudes, and you'll see that's correct.
All right. Come here.
So,
I have to go. Eamon, listen, I could do the whole 3 hours with you. Enjoy it. Have a great day. Have a great day.
Listen, I'll talk to you in the Late Show next year then, okay? About
Get out of it, will you? Good luck, Eamon. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Thank you so much indeed. Tony Forrester, the CEO of Letterkenny Chamber. She never disappoints. I mean, if you're not watching, what are you doing here? Come on. Hello. How are you getting on, Tony?
I can't believe you haven't got a hat this year.
I know, but I don't know. It kind of snuck up on me, didn't it? Like everything else. It's unbelievable. We are like so far through in the year. Listen, we've talked quite a bit about what's going on in Letterkenny, and there's a load going on. So just in a couple of minutes, give us the highlights, and anyone that's sitting on the fence and wondering should they go in this year, remind them why they should, Tony.
Yeah, they definitely should. So it's always a really massive parade, as we know. But before that, so we have the stage up on Market Centre from 1:30. And Keith, our lovely Keith, will be there, I'm sure, in some kind of St. Patrick's Day outfit of some description. He never disappoints. And he'll start the music. Then we have the Hillbillies on the stage at Market Square, with Callum Keaveney outside McGettigan's to entertain the people who stand up there. Folking About outside Blake's Bar. We have a selfie photo frame at the old courthouse. And we have a photo booth where you actually get your commemorative photograph, just at the Bank of Ireland there. So there'll be music, entertainment. We'll have someone, Leila Coyle, will sing the national anthem to get us going. And we'll have our viewing platform. And really, it's really about being out and about and having a bit of crack.
Yeah. We loved it last year. I just loved being out.
Did you?
Yeah, I wasn't in Letterkenny. I'm not going to lie to you. But the sentiment is the same. Be it in Letterkenny, Maville, Glenties, Donegal Town, Carragart, Downings, wherever you might be, it's just standing with other people, isn't it? And having a chat and seeing people you haven't seen for a while. How are you getting on?
That's what you see as you walk up the street, and everybody's lovely. Yeah. Everybody's really, really pleasant, and it can get really busy at times, but it's just really pleasant. Lovely. And that's why we've added a wee bit of entertainment in. Just so
I like it, up and down the street. Now, the street is pretty much closed for the entirety of the parade, but if anyone has access needs, the Gardaí have committed, obviously, to fully facilitating that. But it's a traffic-free zone that families can move around without fear of vehicle interference.
We have the road closed from 1 o'clock.
Yep.
Or sort of 1:30, and any access, obviously there'll be stewards there who'll help people if they get stuck anywhere.
Excellent.
And we've told our participants where to queue up, so hopefully that will all work out. Lots of kids and lots of dancers. I have to say. We have dancers and gymnastics coming out of our ears, so we're delighted.
Excellent. It's going to be brilliant, and you're brilliant fun too for putting your hat on. Thanks so much, Tony.
Thanks a lot.
Have a lovely day. Let us go to Dean Gillespie, who is manager of the base, also a rep on the Ballybofey and Strathrola Chamber. You never end up with one job, Dean. You always have to do a few, but this is good fun, isn't it?
Good man, Greg. Yes. We've a few things organised. Okay, yeah.
Now, you are going down the route of having stuff on, but not going with the parade. So, what can people look forward to, Dean?
We're not going with the parade, Greg. We had a fun day last year, and it worked out very well. So we're kind of working that to make it better. So we're starting off this evening. We're going to have a kids' disco this evening in Jackson's Hotel in the Pyramid Suite from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock for the young children first to get them in the swing of things. And then tomorrow, it's in the Navanage Street car park. We're going to have amusement rides there. We're going to have a rodeo ball. If you're feeling energetic, maybe come over and we'll get you a cowboy hat. There's no trampolines and inflatable things for the children to play on, the younger children. And
it's a lovely family atmosphere then around Navanage Car Park tomorrow. I love the idea of the disco for the young ones this evening too.
Yeah, they'll get a goose and crisps and all tonight too. And then tomorrow we have games tents set up. They're all going to the amusement rides. Obviously, the children will have to pay for them, but we have a games tent set up then, and that's going to be all free. If you ever watched the Cube game, you know how they
do,
long board and they have the cards, and you put your hand in and pull the cards out and all that. They're very, very popular, those things, So,
all right, Dean. Well, listen, come here. If you're in and around the area, it sounds like Navanage Car Park's the place to be. The disco tonight at 7 for the young ones.
Greg, we have a food fair as well then for the adults. So we have marquees up in the middle of the tent for the middle of the car park, for the adults. So we have all there's a good selection of foods and food vans outside.
Oh, you make me hungry.
We had a tractor run last year for the children. Toy tractors, when to come out.
But when we were talking last year, I thought it was real tractors, and it was quite embarrassing in the end. But come here, Dean. Listen, have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining us, Dean Gillespie there. Indoor Traditional Day in Burton Port Community Centre. Tea, music, Irish dancing, food, games and lots more. It starts at 12 after Mass until 2, and it's their first time back since 2019. Cade Mila Fulcha. All right, okay. And 2 tickets are going for the St Mary's Convoy GEA draw. 50k being given away tomorrow. You can get your tickets by searching them out in the social medias and the website. Ron Turk's in the draw though. He's won 2 tickets. He's Bonanimber in Derrybeg. Well done. You correctly answered Paris. Listen, have a wonderful day tomorrow. Sorry for anyone that we didn't get to, but have a lovely, safe St. Patrick's weekend. It's our national holiday, and if you haven't spoken to someone for a while, why don't you say hello to them tomorrow? It'd be a nice wee thing for you and for them. Right, okay, back with you on Monday. John Bresson's next. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
This week's 9 till noon show is brought to you by St Mary's GA Convoy Club Development Draw. Win 50,000 for €50. Draw takes place 17th